governments.
Hatutaki tulete ukabila kwa Kenya, na bali Mheshimiwa Rais ndio anasimamia taifa nzima, Afrika nzima kwa mambo ya amani.
Tupendane, tuheshimiane, tuachane na mambo ya kuzungumuza hii kabila yangu, hao watu yangu. Kila mtu ni mtu wetu.
We are one indivisible united country under God, with one map, one flag, one national anthem.
Mambo ya regionalism tuachane nayo. Kama Bungoma inaendelea, Kakamega tunajua itaendelea, Busia itaendelea, na Kenya mzima itaendelea kwenda mbele.
The president also announced his trip to South Korea to attend South Korea Africa Summit this evening.
Now, Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua says he will continue preaching peace and unity of purpose across the country to achieve development. Speaking in Timau, Meru County, the Deputy President described himself as a peacemaker, explaining that his call for unity, beginning with his home region of Mount Kenya, is for the greater good of the nation and its development.
Speaking in Buri constituency in Meru County, the Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua defended his call for national forgiveness following a highly divisive 2022 general election, saying such healing was the way to go for the country to progress.
We have had our own shares of disunity in this region ambayo imetuhangaisha kiasi. Na mimi nikiwa kiongozi ninaona haya. Hapa katika kaunti yetu ya Meru hatujakuwa na amani kwa muda, na hiyo inatatiza maendeleo.
Addressing a congregation at Our Lady of Visitation Catholic Church in Timau, the Deputy President was accompanied by his spouse, Pastor Dorcas Rigathi, and Meru County Governor Kawira Mwangaza, among other leaders, explained that he came into office a bitter man, given the humiliation and persecution he was subjected to by the previous regime. However, the Deputy President explained that he has gradually healed following consistent prayers, and he is ready to forgive those who persecuted him.
I want to appeal to all leaders to embrace forgiveness. It's there in the Bible. I, Rigathi Gachagua, was badly wounded before the election. I was humiliated. I was persecuted. I came into office a very bitter person. But through prayer, and I want to thank my wife, she prayed for me, and within 1 year, all the bitterness had gone. I was a healed person.
The DP spouse, Pastor Dorcas Rigathi, asked Christians to support the ongoing nationwide crackdown on fight against illicit brews and drug abuse so that Kenya can have a sober population.
Hii pombe na miadarati imetufanya madhara makubwa sana, na kwa hivyo ni lazima tuungane, tusimame kama kina mama na wazazi, tuende tuchukue watoto wetu, tuwatoe hiyo madawa kwa kichwa na tuwapende, ndio waweze kurudi nyumbani na waweze kujenga taifa letu.
To matters budget now, where the National Assembly Budget and Appropriation Committee Chairperson Ndindi Nyoro has hinted at an increment of the 2024-25 budget to 4 trillion shillings from the initial estimate of 3.14 trillion. Speaking in Maralal Town, that is in Samburu County, Nyoro said an ongoing consultation might also see a budget increment in the devolved units. He also assured the striking junior secondary school teachers that the government has also set aside 15 billion shillings for their permanent and pensionable employment, and called on the Teachers Service Commission, the TSC, to expedite their employment once it received the budgetary allocation.
Na katika hayo mambo ya bajeti tumeongeza pesa ya elimu, na hiyo pesa ya elimu itakuwa kama 680 billion shillings. Ile pesa itaenda kwa elimu ya watoto wa Kenya. And I want to be very categorical. Pesa ya elimu, tumetoa pesa ya kuajiri walimu wa JSS on permanent and pensionable terms.
Tunajua mashida zile ziko kwa Kenya hii. Walimu wa JSS wanataka kuajiriwa. Mumewaona kwa barabara. Hatuna pesa ingine ya kuwapatia isipokuwa ile tutalipia kodi. Walimu hawa watoke kwa barabara, waajiriwe kwa sababu ni watoto wetu tulisomesha na ni sisi tutawalipa.
To the political watch, where Kapsaret member of National Assembly, that is Oscar Sudi, has criticized politicians preaching tribalism, terming them enemies of unity and solidarity among Kenyans. In Machakos County, Senator Agnes Kavindu has called on President William Ruto to reduce the price of some products he aims to tax in the new finance bill. Details in our political news wrap.
Speaking during a fundraising at Friends Church in Kakamega, Kapsaret legislator Oscar Sudi also urged Kenyans to be cautious when electing leaders and not be misled by tribal interest.
Umetuonesha mfano mzuri. Na nataka niwaambie leo, ukiona hata senta yenu haina Mkikuyu, ujue kuna shida. Kwa sababu hao Wakikuyu ni watu wa maajabu. Na hiyo ndio mfano mzuri ndio tuweke katika taifa la Kenya. Ukienda Lodwar utawapata. Ukienda Mombasa utawapata. Ukikuja Eldoret utawapata. Ukikuja hapa Kakamega utawapata. Si kweli jamani? Na ndio tunataka tushikane. Hii maana ya kusema sisi ni watu wa Kenya, sisi watu na mlima, hiyo maneno tuache.
Sentiments separately echoed by Mbeere North Member of Parliament Geoffrey Ruku, who challenged Mount Kenya leaders to unite and shun politics of division.
Don't entertain anybody who is going to bring division, who is going to bring a discord between yourself and the Deputy President and other leaders from Mount Kenya. We want to be one people who cannot be divided.
His Othaya counterpart Wambogwa Inaina also accused a section of politicians from Mount Kenya region of being power hungry at the expense of the unity of the region.
Na wakati president wetu aliona yule mtu ataweza kufanya kazi na yeye ni Rigathi Gachagua, aliwacha watu wengi sana huko nje. Na sababu aliona ndio kiongozi, akasema ni huyu nitafanya kazi na yeye ndio watengeneze nchi yetu ya Kenya.
In Machakos, the county senator Agnes Kavindu has urged President William Ruto to instead reduce the price of some products targeted for price increments under the finance bill.
Kutaenda kuwa pia na taxation hata ya land. Sasa hizi kodi zikienda hivyo, kuku, umbwa, nini zote, tutaenda wapi? Tutakimbilia wapi? Sisi wa Kenya tumechoka, tunataka kodi iteremshwe. Asanteni.
Still in Machakos, the Deputy Governor Francis Mwangangi has urged politicians across the political aisle to tone down on abuses and redirect their energies to serving the electorate.
Politics should be about who has a better policy to transform a country, to transform a county, to transform a constituency, to transform a ward. Not about who abuses the other, the loudest, or the unthinkable terms. So I urge our people, because I've seen so many of us deviating from the core call for leadership.
Meanwhile, a section of MPs from Nyanza is pleading with the government to urgently implement President William Ruto's promises to Nyanza residents to make it easy for them to make inroads in the area. The leaders say that Nyanza residents were doubting them with questions about the promises, making it hard for them to sell the government and Kenya Kwanza policies.
If you are building roads in central Kenya, and Rift Valley, give us our fair share of roads. That's our aim. If we are employing army people, give us our fair share of army people. If we are doing markets, that is how you will win these people. So these people respond to what government does.
Governors who have served full term may be barred for 5 years, that is, from vying for the Senate position in the next immediate election if a bill to amend the Constitution sails through. The Constitution of Kenya Amendment Bill 2023 seeks to amend Articles 99, Cap 2 and 193 Cap 2 of the Constitution and Sections 24 Cap 2 and 25 Cap 2 of the Elections Act to bar a governor who has served a full term from eligibility as a senatorial candidate or a member of County Assembly. The bill is currently in its second reading stage at the Senate and has received varied opinions from the senators, with its opponents arguing that it might infringe on political freedoms and rights.
Senators on Thursday began debate on the bill, with the sponsor-nominated Senator Raphael Chimera saying if enacted, it will allow the House perform its oversight role, especially holding to account former county bosses on any audit or integrity queries during their tenure.
I shudder to imagine that somebody who served as a full-term governor appears before a committee he sits as a member, a committee he chairs perhaps, and there are questions as to the misdirection, misapplication of finances under his watch, and then you expect there will be no conflict of interest from that particular individual, Mr. Speaker.
The bill, however, elicited varied opinions, with some asserting the supremacy of integrity, while others terming it a violation of political freedoms and rights.
The proposed limitation that seeks to bar governors from running for Senate and our county assembly, Mr. Speaker, is reasonable and justifiable, as it is limited to the offices which directly exercise oversight of our county governments.
There's no political hygiene. Somebody climbing to the highest seat in a county, then starting to scramble back to compete with people who are now building their careers.
If we are saying if a Governor X runs for Senate and EACC are investigating him, then we come to Parliament and again subject him to the legal hurdle of not being elected, Mr. Speaker, and there is presumption of innocence. We are subjecting that individual or those individuals to principle of double jeopardy.
The spirit of this bill has got nothing to do with limiting anyone's rights. The spirit of this bill has got everything to do with oversight and ensuring that those who intend to take up these offices as governors particularly understand that no, you're not going to be a governor and then come and sit in the Senate to cover up the corrupt dealings that your administration was involved in, Mr. Speaker.
The worst that could have happened is if the mover of the motion had said they be bad completely. He's only saying they cool for 5 years to allow any mess that might have taken place in their office to be sorted out.
Since the inception of the Constitution, a number of former governors have, after completing their terms, found their way to the Senate or County Assembly in the subsequent elections. The current Bungoma Governor, Ken Lusaka, served as Senate Speaker after serving one term as Governor. Uasin Gishu Senator Jackson Mandago and his Mandera counterpart Ali Roba moved to Senate immediately after serving full terms as governors. The current Senate Speaker, Amason Kingi, is immediate former Kilifi Governor.
Are you telling me, Mr. Speaker, that while Speaker Lusaka was seated where you are, with those immense powers, there were no questions of oversight, begging from his tenure in Bungoma? Are you telling me there are no such questions emanating from the county of Mandera, county of Uasin Gishu, and county of Kilifi?
If we were to resource our committees, such that by the time an election of 2027 is done, the Public Accounts Committee has considered the audit report of 26-27. Then the governor who is serving second term, like Bungoma governor, can run for Senate and come here, Mr. Speaker. That is the point that we are trying to say, that it is our own making. We are shooting our own foot, Mr. Speaker.
Debate on the bill is set to continue when Senate resumes from a 3-week recess.
Thank you, Kamcha Menza, for that report. Now, Parliament has been urged to create a legal framework to facilitate the recognition and rewarding of media legends in the country. Music and Copyright Association of Kenya Chief Executive Officer, that is Dr. Ezekiel Mutua, said besides athletes, Kenyan veteran broadcasters also deserve recognition. He was speaking during celebrations to mark 84th birthday of veteran Kenya Broadcasting Corporation broadcaster, that is Leonard Mambo Botella, in Nairobi, organized by the Association of Professional Broadcasters.
We have to begin by honoring those who are before us, those who sacrificed and through their talents and gifts and professionalism made this country the beautiful country it is. We are appealing that begins with Leonard Mambo Botella.
Lolote ufanyalo, uwe nani, be humble in life. Yes. Be humble in life. Live with humility. Na Mungu atakubariki. Happy birthday.
Let's look at the county news, where the Kikuyu Council of Elders is calling on the political class to end the double speak and fight for the interests of the electorate. Speaking in Ndumberi, Kiambu County, the elders said politicians, especially the elected leaders, have failed to prevent the implementation of unfriendly policies. More of this in our county news roundup.
The Kikuyu Council of Elders National Chairman Wachira Kiago says the Finance Bill 2024 must be cured of oppressive proposals, which he argues may disenfranchise the public. He said that elected leaders must work in the best interest of the electorate.
Tunasema hakuna jamii hata moja inatakana inyang'anywe kiwango yao ya pesa ile wanapewa. Lakini yetu kama Wakikuyu iletwe na yetu inatosha. Hebu wakae na yao. Lakini yetu kwa sababu tunajua haijafanywa haki, tunataka tufanyiwe haki.
Meanwhile, a new board of directors has taken over the management of the controversial Midlands Limited in Nyandarua County after 10 years of closure due to a legal battle over the 25 acres parcel of land it sits on.
Wakati kulikuwa na mvua, wamama wengi wako wanapata kazi, lakini kama hiki kiwanda kilikuwa kinaendelea, wamama wangekuwa nakosa kazi.
And more than 150 residents from Meru have benefited from free eye, diabetes and sugar level clinic courtesy of Lions Club of Kenya.
Na 5 principles tunakuwa nazo tukiwa Lions, tunakuwa na vision, tunakuwa na environment kupanda miti, childhood cancer, diabetes.
Elsewhere, the county government of Kajiado has declared Ipomia weed a disaster due to its devastating effects on pasture. The leaders said the weed is threatening livestock keeping, which is the main economic activity of the county.
As a county that is heavily dependent on pastoralism, we are very, very concerned that the continued expansion of Ipomia undermines our effort in our pastoralism endeavor.
Now let's cross borders, where the African National Congress ANC party says it's committed to forming a government that reflects the will of the people of South Africa. The party, however, has vowed not to replace President Cyril Ramaphosa as a condition to forming a new governing coalition. According to the party's Secretary General, that is Fikile Mbalula, the party will first discuss internally to map out the next steps and urge people to respect the law.
Nearly all the ballots have been counted in South Africa, but the ruling African National Congress ANC has received only 40.21% of votes in Wednesday's election. South Africa's Police Minister Becky Cele says law and order forces are primed and ready to ensure a continued peaceful environment once the final election results are announced. The African National Congress Party's Secretary General Fikile Mbalula noted that the party is committed to forming a government that reflects the will of the people.
We enter a new term with both a clear mandate and a firm commitment to improve the maintenance of infrastructure and the provision of services in communities throughout the country. The ANC is committed to the formation of a government that reflects the will of the people.
Balula further observed that the party had been humbled by an election that ended its 30-year majority, but vowed not to replace President Cyril Ramaphosa as a condition to forming a new governing coalition. Political parties will then have 2 weeks to work out a deal before a new parliament sits to choose a president, who would likely still emerge from the ANC as the biggest party.
Kenya Sevens rugby team Shujaa returned to the World Series following a 35-15 victory over Germany in a tense playoff match in Madrid. Germany went over the line first before captain Vincent Onyala leveled, then Tony Omondi converted to put them 7-5 ahead. Ojwang scored a try for Kenya, but the conversion was unsuccessful for a 12-10 score in favor of Kevin Wambua's men at halftime. Now, John Okoth then extended the lead with a try converted by Omondi for 19-10, but Germany reduced the deficit to 19-15 to set up a tense finish. However, Kenya added further tries to secure a 35-15 finish to return to the World Series in style. The tie was actually a repeat of their quarter-final encounter during the Challenger Series in Munich, where host Germany beat Kenya 19-17. Well, that's where we end the news this morning. Thank you so much, as usual, for your company. My name is Marie Yambo. Up next is Mike Migwe, who is having our political analysts in studio ready to take you through the political intrigues of the weekend. My name is Marie Yambo.
Mimi niko zangu naenda Mwembe Tayari kukula maembe ya ndondo.
Nani napeleka nyinyi?
Tunaenda na
employees.
Employers.
Wageni wakiingia. Haya, halayo. Halayo. Ha. Katungi.
Malamba mbamba, naomba niingie.
Maraba, shikamoni. Chabasunte.
Hii nayo ni kukoroga mawazo.
Mugaka.
Muayeye.
This tea is tasteless. It has no sugar. I can even smell milk in it. Halafu this chapati ni unga tu zimeshikanishwa na maji.
Guys. If you don't like my cooking, you don't like my chapati and chai, please return them.
If you want something so bad, the universe brings it to you.
I really wonder what these young girls see in such old men.
Clearly you need spectacles. Well, Mbulek Sapo, you don't talk to Zaka like that.
Can you imagine? The other day, Baby Benito was calling me Bamba and did not imagine. So I did not respond. Then I heard Dandy.
Wait, what?
Yes, exactly my response. I said what?
On KBC Channel 1, we are a TV station like no other. Get a taste of the best in entertainment.
Yes, indeed.
Feel the passion.
Will you promise me?
I swear that you will never lose me. I can't get married to you.
I'm sure you knew about it. That's why you're making fun of me.
Experience the drama.
Get out.
Who is the man in this one?
And the laughter.
Hii wigi umevaa kichwani. Sisi wakati tulikuwa tunapishwa tunapewa mheshimiwa. Sasa. Mlamba.
Move to the beat.
We are live from Broadcasting House.
And get informed on the latest happenings. KBC Channel 1.
Wow. Wow. Yeah.
We are the full package.
Oh, yes.
And Kenya's watching.
Thank you very much for joining us.
This tea is tasteless. It has no sugar. I can even smell milk in it. Halafu this chapati ni unga tu zimeshikanishwa na maji.
Guys, if you don't like my cooking, you don't like my chapati and chai, please return them.
If you want something so bad, the universe brings it to you. I really wonder what these young girls see in such old men.
Clearly you need spectacles. Well, don't talk to Zaka like that.
Can you imagine? The other day, Benito was calling me Bamba and did not imagine. So I did not respond. Then I heard, Dandy.
Wait, what?
Yes, exactly my response. I said, what?
Welcome back to Good Morning Kenya. My name is Mike Migwe, and now we shift gears from news. We look at what is happening in the political landscape of the country. This is Eye on Politics, and in studio I'm joined by, on my far left, joined by Honorable Peter Orero, who is the MP for Kibra. How are you doing?
Very well.
Karibu sana.
Thank you for inviting me again.
Yes.
I think we are here to see what is happening in the political arena in the country.
Yes.
Any other thing, we want to say thank you. I also want to say welcome, Kenyans, those who are watching us.
Yes.
Yeah.
And also Jasiel Njau, ama Fadela.
Yes.
Paka nguo yako imeandikwa Fadela.
Lazima. Inabidi.
Karibu sana.
Thank you.
How are you doing?
I'm good.
Yes.
It's a pleasure. It's a privilege once again
Mm-hmm.
to come here, and I really appreciate. I'm a happy man.
Yes.
I'm a happy man when I think about Nairobi. I'm a happy man, which we shall discuss.
Okay. All right. We shall get to that. In the meantime, let's take a look at what is happening in the local dailies. I'm starting with the Nation. Tanga Tanga as you wish, Ruto tells MPs. I think that is in line with what the president said yesterday about MPs have a responsibility to their constituents, and also they can go around the country to better understand their roles more. What is it take on that, given that now you are here as an MP?
I think he's just trying to affirm the oversight roles of the MPs, and also those who have closed minds, those who have not walked to these parts of the country.
Yeah.
And you see, our key responsibility, one of the key responsibility of an MP, not just a legislative role and representation, but we have oversight role.
Yes.
And it takes us to various places. Like myself, I'm in Education Committee, and we oversight various agencies and the universities across the country. So sometimes it gives us opportunity to see really firsthand what happens in this institution. But at the same time, we interact with other people. I don't think it was just meant for MPs, as it were. Maybe we will look at it in a deeper way, because I think at the moment we know the fields we have. So MPs, this was just a coincidental term for the MPs, but I think it meant bigger things. Otherwise, as an MP, I think it is right for us to move to other parts of the country, see how people live, look at how infrastructure and other development projects go on in various parts of the country, and compare with our own constituencies and see what we lack, what we need to do, and what other Kenyans need as a country.
Yes.
Yeah.
Fadela, I want to get your sentiments on that, but that statement by the president seems to contradict what the deputy president had said some time back when he was in Rift Valley, where he told MPs to stay in their constituency and not meddle in the politics of other regions.
One, I want to agree to what Mheshimiwa said. The president is a very smart man. When he said that, he knew what he was saying in matters of oversight. My issue is, and I agree to what you've said, I'm against what you've said, he never said tanga tanga. No, he never said. Let's look. What did he say? You are free to move to other regions. When we introduce the connotation of tanga tanga, you take us back to when President Uhuru stood and said, Nyinyi tanga tanga. You understand? So the president never said that. I think there are people who want to bring a rift where there is no rift. They want to create it. Yet the government is in unity. And now, in juxtaposition with what you've said in terms of the DP, speaking in Rift Valley and saying about the meddling affairs of the politics of Central. And he said the politics of Central is a very complicated affair. Leave it to the mountaineers. He never said that MPs should not go around. He simply said those who are meddling in the affairs of the Central region, just keep it to yourself. We can handle our issues. But in matters of the president, as he alluded to, MPs can go wherever and wherever. That was not tanga tanga. So when you use the headline, tanga tanga as you wish, bro, you are awakening things which were not there. And I think it's time for the media to get to that perspective where they respect the political class and not create beef where there was no beef. Yeah.
But also someone, given the way the president spoke and the words that the deputy president used some time back, is the presidency, or is the president and the deputy president reading from different scripts?
I think where the rift comes in is a question of the mission of the deputy president vis-a-vis the vision of the president. The vision of the president is unity, right? The mission of the deputy president as it stands now is unity in the Central Kenya. And where they find that there is a problem is because the DP has gotten to a place he has realized, he has humbled himself. I go to church, and as a politician coming up, I go to church, and the pastor, Bishop Moredi, my bishop, GCC, says, I think it's scripture where he says, humble yourself before the Lord and he will lift you up. Rigi G has gotten to a place he realized, and he said it during the weekend, he said, I came into power as a bitter man. But my wife advised me and has prayed for me and I've healed. So when he's coming, he's apologizing on behalf of the Central Kenya. So people are misconstruing, and there's a misnomer about this mission of him repenting, because he realizes in matters of leadership, he did wrong what he did, and he's saying sorry. So let's not confuse the mission of the DP. And I'll take you back, because now we are awakening things. I'll take you back. The president, current, and when he was DP and President Uhuru, they went around doing prayer rallies, right? And they were saying, forgive us, and people were being prayed for. If I was to be asked, because I'm not in that board of Rigi G, if I was to be asked, Rigi G should even brand himself and come up with Rigi G prayer rallies. He wants repentance. He's an honest man, a truthful man, and now we are seeing a repentant man. So why not do prayer rallies for him to apologize to the nation in this time, the Central Province? And he is actually regretting what he said. So let's not mix the two. They are not on. They're speaking. It's like you're on the same mountain but on a different side.
Do we need prayer rallies or we need prayer development?
Oh, this one. He's pushing. You remember when he was talking and telling Pastor Dorcas, Her Excellency, the Second Lady, when he said, the president will send me. in America for development and I will hold your hand. He understands his role. He does what the president says. He respects the authority of the president. Even when he goes, he says, let us do development. But this is a man on a redemptive mission so that he can be forgiven. So let's not confuse the two.
I don't know what your sentiments are towards whatever he has
I
said.
think we are really at variance in our thoughts with my colleague here.
Yes.
I don't know whether he's standing in for Rigiji. Because one is, let us not misuse prayers and let us not misuse repentance. And when he says he's an honest man and is repenting, when you are honest, you are almost holier than thou. You don't even need repentance. I think let us not cover our heads with this idea of prayers. We must respect prayers. Your question was very explicit and very specific, whether they are reading from the same or different scripts. And my colleague is trying to confuse people about vision and mission. And you see, as a deputy president, you must carry out the vision of the president.
Yes.
No two ways. Although we are a democratic country, but a deputy president must carry the vision of the president. We cannot have two centers of power. But I think this is good for Kenya because it is going to obliterate completely these reckless pronouncements of ownership or shares that they have always talked about, that Rigji has always talked about. Because now we will consider our country, we will consider Kenyans as a united nation. And I think I would, for once, I would want to read from the same script with the president, where he says he needs a united country. We cannot, in our mind, select certain regions and try to consolidate power within certain regions. Yet we are chosen by all Kenyans and expect to serve Kenyans. And I think last weekend, I think yesterday, I was looking at what the deputy president was talking about, although he was speaking in vernacular. But I understand a lot of Kikuyu. That is where I learned from. He was speaking in vernacular and said that he still stands for 1 shilling, 1 man, 1 vote. I want to retrace this for a long time. In 1965, I think there was sessional paper number 10, which was developed. And during this time, our colonial government, people from, we were just reeling from getting our independence. And we had this idea that areas which had good infrastructure, areas which had electricity, they had good land, they had a good climate. These are areas where the white men were living. The ranches in Laikipia, the central province, the Rift Valley, and all these good places. So they were saying that development, for it to come faster, we need to lift these areas which were already developed. And that is why, as Kenyans, some areas are more developed than the others because of this sessional paper number 10, which was implemented in a skewed manner. When we want to bring this again at the current political setup and the current Kenyan state where democracy is taking root, we cannot be retrogressive in our thinking. We must be progressive in our thinking. And I think these two are reading from very different scripts, and more is coming.
Wait.
Before I come back to you, I'll give you a time to...
I want to respond.
Yes, you will respond to that. Yeah. But let me first of all introduce Dr. Joseph Rotich, who is a political and economics analyst, who has just joined us here on Eye on Politics. Welcome to the program.
Thank you, Mike.
And we are talking about the statements between the president yesterday and a statement that the deputy president had made some time back in Rift Valley. And the question I'm asking here is the president and the deputy president reading from the same script?
Thank you, Mike. I want to thank Kenyans because they have been good to their leaders.
Yes.
But when you look at the leadership of this country, I say generally leaders, they are still reckless in their talks. They are not really referring or rather making themselves equal to the expectations of the majority of Kenyans.
Yes.
Because when you talk about, as I heard my brother Mheshimiwa, about the 1 man, 1 vote, 1 shilling, that has been uttered by His Excellency the Deputy President. I think this thing, wanna make this in bad taste, because you talk, the presidency, to me, is a sacred position in this country. And when you talk about president, you talk of a president that is the symbol of the national unity.
Yeah.
You talk of a president that represents the majority of Kenyans, not the majority, all Kenyans. And when you allude, like you are talking to a particular group of people or some constituents, that maybe you want to talk in a sense that appeals to them, to me, it is not good. Because when you talk about the population being equated to how much you should get in this country, Mike, what do you expect the minorities of this nation, who are equally the citizens of this nation, who deserve to benefit from their own resources? When you say, just because I'm an elder brother, we are many in number, we can now, even the resources should be distributed in the same manner. In this case, Mike, if you look at the country, the population of this nation, there are those tribes that are very few in number. Talk of the Robos, talk of who were not developed in the past, and who at this time they are also expecting their government that talks of the equitable distribution of resources of this country. I think these are the people whom we must look at them. And if I was to be asked, Mike, as to what we should use to distribute our resources in this country, I should really loudly talk about the poverty index of this nation. Those people who are deserving more are those people who were left behind in the days past. And these are the people whom we should look into and develop them to come to the same status economically with the rest of the Kenyans.
But coming to what I just asked, is the president and the deputy reading from the same script?
You understand the political intrigues of this country, Mike. Of late, you overheard about some differences that public are actually talking. It has been in the air. We don't know how much they relate inside, but what we can say outside, they look like they are the better. But as to the firing talks, Mike, I said you are not a guest in this country. Of late, the Deputy President has been seemingly talking like he has been sidelined. That is by the talk. We don't know how much he has been sidelined, or if it is true that he has been sidelined. But I don't see that, Mike, because if I go back to the talk that he had in Rift Valley when they were in Eldoret, he expressed that there are some people from the Rift who are out to wreck the political terrain in the Mount Kenya. And he alluded that there are some young guys who are now, they look lucrative and satisfied. They have a lot of money. Yeah. And in that case, I don't think that that relates to the mind of His Excellency the President.
Yes.
It is only about those characters just beneath.
Yes. Asante sana. Let me also introduce Arnold Nyaribo, who is the advocate of the High Court. Karibu sana to the program. How are you doing this morning?
I'm very good.
Uko salama?
Can you ask me the same question?
Actually, yes.
No, he is setting his question. He wants to set his question. Yours is coming.
I want you to respond to that and also give your views on the president yesterday said MPs can
traverse.
Yes, they can traverse the country as get to understand their roles better. And the deputy president, on the other hand, some time back said, "Stay in your constituency."
Yes.
Your sentiments.
Yeah, thanks. Now, I think for the benefit of our viewers, and thank you so much for welcoming me to your show.
Yes.
The president and the deputy are not reading from the same script. It is that clear. And the reason is simple, that probably the usefulness of the two, they have realized, has already come to an end, and everybody has to be genuine and honest. And you know, when you are a political leader of that level, by the way, there is so much you can hide. You cannot dodge around, values or even language. because you have a lot of supporters behind you, and they are always looking at you. Every day they want to hear your honest opinion about something, which is why you brought us here, so that at least we can try to explain to your viewers why is the deputy president speaking the way he's doing, and why is the head of state speaking the way he's doing. So they are not speaking from the same script. But what is wrong with the human soul, we do not know. Because earlier on, the people of Mount Kenya were clearly warned that do not go that direction. But they said, no, we have to go this direction. We do not want to hear your words now. We don't want your wisdom. They told the former president, for example. I mean, because he was the one who was one of the leaders quite opposed to unification of the president, current President William Ruto, and the people of Mount Kenya. Yes. So, having said that, then, why do people seem all of a sudden, I mean, you have been warned so clearly, why do you turn around and start to whine? Why do you turn around and start now to say, oh, you know, I don't get anyway, but I will leave it to every reasonable citizen to judge by themselves. Why are we as Kenyans not able actually to agree on a position? This is KBC. Why would somebody call it KBC yellow or KBC something? I mean, this is KBC. So I think...
I hope you are not referring to my colleague.
Fadela, you want to respond to
I want to respond to him.
Yes.
You heard Mheshimiwa say, for the first time I'm in agreement with the president. They are always in agreement when Raila is happy. They are happy. You see, that one we must...
Let us not invoke
why I'm saying that,
the name of Raila where he's not there.
Why I'm saying that is because the president, before he became president, he was interviewed and he said, how come when I supported Raila Odinga, I was not corrupt? How come when I supported Uhuru Kenyatta, I was not corrupt? How come now that I'm running for presidency, I'm the one now who's being told? Is that fair? And the question is, Mount Kenya, when we supported the president, how come we were not tribal? But now when Rigathi now wants to bring us together so that we can talk. The other day we saw Northeastern leaders. When they met, the media, they were discussing their interest. When Central is just meeting, tribal, we cannot go back to ethnic. And when Rigathi says, and his battalion of Mheshimiwa Gakuya now, who's the incoming UDA boss Nairobi, when he said, heshima kidogo tu ndo tunaomba, heshima kidogo. Let me tell you, Nyeri County by itself delivered 272,000 votes to President Ruto. Now, the gap between Raila and President Ruto was 233,000. So if Rigathi went to Baba would have been, because in Kirinyaga, President Ruto got 911 votes, while Baba got 311 from the deputy. Matakarua. So my point is, heshima kidogo is 272,000. Give him credit. This man, and when the rains are over, I know, when the rains are over, the umbrella is heavy. So please, heshima tu kidogo.
I think you just took my mic away. Nonetheless, I'm getting the drift of the discussion because I was not earlier in the show. You asked me, because you have to control this Mount Kenya and whatever other regions, not tension, but the strained debate. Because the head of state said, let a member of parliament not be limited to Othaya, or let him not be limited to Kapseret, as the deputy president said. And I think that is one of the best governance remark. You cannot have a country and then you create tribal kingpins and then you ensure that people from the other end do not come to our end. In fact, this was a problem previously, and I think we have tried to resolve it. So by again the deputy president say, nonetheless, I mean we are intelligent people. We must appreciate what each leader is saying. The deputy is not actually saying that you cannot visit another constituency.
Thank you.
That is for sure. I mean, let's be fair and give people their honest respect.
Yes.
In this particular moment, he's addressing his tribulations, and he's saying they are being created by Ndindi Nyoro and the likes of Ndindi Nyoro, and they like to traverse the country just to spoil my name. We should not intellectually frustrate the intention of the deputy president and say, he's saying you cannot visit Mukurweini. So that said, when the head of state says, no, you guys don't be afraid, you are at liberty to visit Nyamira and go to Kisii, wherever you want to go, you are at liberty. And again, that is very correct. But I think removing it out of context to just try to demean exactly what the deputy president means, he's trying to defend himself. He's trying to survive in a political forum. He's trying to say, no, yes. You cannot leave my county of Nyeri. Yeah. Then you go to spoil my name in Kapseret as though I did not support the head of state to win votes. Mm-hmm. But my brother here has raised something that is also mischievous in the sense that
allow me to cut you short. Okay. We go to a short break, then we'll come back to you, continue.
Please give me the mic when you come back.
Yes.
This tea is tasteless. It has no sugar. I can even smell it milk in it. Halafu this chapati ni unga tu zimeshikanishwa na maji.
Guys, if you don't like my cooking, you don't like my chapati and chai, please return them.
If you want something so bad, the universe brings it to you. I really wonder what these young girls see in such old men.
Clearly you need spectacles. Don't talk to Zaka like that.
Can you imagine? The other day, Benito was calling me Bamba and did not imagine. So I did not respond. Then I heard, Dandy.
Wait, what?
Yes, exactly my response. I said, what?
Ungekuja usia mimi chai.
Mimi niko zangu naenda Mwembe Tayari kukula maembe ya ndondo.
Nani napeleka nyinyi?
Tunaenda na employer.
Employees.
Employers.
Wageni wakiingia. Haya, layo. Hello ye. Ha.
Katungi. Malamba mbamba. Naomba niingie.
Maraba, shikamoni.
Chabasunte.
Hii nayo ni kukoroga mawazo.
Mugaka.
On KBC Channel 1, we are a TV station like no other. Get a taste of the best in entertainment.
Yes, indeed.
Feel the passion.
Will you promise me?
I swear that you will never lose me. I can't get married to you.
I'm sure you knew about it. That's why you're making fun of me.
Experience the drama.
Get out.
Who is the man in this one?
And the laughter.
Hii wigi umevakishwa. Sio wakati tulikuwa tunapishwa tukapewa mheshimiwa.
Imemlamba. Move to the beat.
We are live from Broadcasting House.
And get informed on the latest happenings. KBC Channel 1.
Wow.
Yeah!
We are the full package.
Oh, yes.
And Kenya's watching.
Thank you very much for joining us.
Welcome back to Eye on Politics here on Good Morning Kenya, and the debate is raging on. Before we went on air, Wakili, you were saying something and I cut you short. I want you to continue on that point before I come to Dr.
Well, we were observing that it is good for members of parliament to traverse the country so that at least they are informed.
Yeah.
But at the same time, we are also saying that you go there, like the head of state said, to be informed so you can be able to legislate. Not so that you go and do politics in another constituency. I think that's the whole point. And both sentiments are echoed by the head of state and the deputy. I don't see contradictions, except when you have to read too much into the politics of it. Now then, my brother was alluding to the fact that now the deputy president, brought in a lot of votes. And I think in 2022, if the head of state decided to pick Mwangi Kiunjuri, for example, still UDA would have gotten a huge number of votes from Central Kenya. The reason was the mood set by the rejection of Uhuru Kenyatta within Mount Kenya was so large that, people just wanted to vote. If you go back to YouTube and listen to the music the ladies were singing, the UDA ladies were singing, the mood had been set, and it did not depend, quite honestly, on the deputy president, who was a one-time member of parliament at that time. And that is why now you see people are saying that the way he has handled himself as a deputy, he was a bit too fast, a bit too forward, a bit too careless in speech. Now things are backfiring, and he finds the anticlimax he is not able to handle. So I think depends on how you look at it and in whose side you stand. But the entire Central Kenya vote did not depend on the deputy president. No.
Dr. Rich, you wanted to say something?
I think Mike, there is something that I feel it should be clarified more. As to the speech of His Excellency, the deputy president, when he was in the North, and the issue of asking MPs not to traverse to other people, the other constituencies. I think it was actually taken out of context, because the scenario under which His Excellency the Deputy President was talking was about MP Wakapseret, that is Oscar Sudi, whom he has not been in good terms with the MP cases. And the MP, in fact, the Deputy President came into the defense of the area MP of cases. By saying Sudi, Sudi campaigned for this gentleman, MP Wakeses. And then, even after he has won, the Sudi went on to interfere with the internal affairs of Keses. Demeaning the member of parliament of Keses. So actually, he was coming in defense of the member of Keses, that you MPs, this habit of traversing into the affairs of the other constituencies. In fact, he should have been able to use the term interfering with other constituencies. He never said actually that you should not go to any other constituency for a good purpose. I think it was misquoted, it was taken out of context, and if you understand the real background under which His Excellency the Deputy President actually spoke, it was referring to a matter between Sudi and the Honorable MP cases. And then the issue that my brother here has raised about the Mount Kenya people were won. Won over what? Won over what? In fact, as we are talking, Mike, the people of Central Province enjoys a majority of those who are in the government. About 9 years, and several others that I cannot mention. Now, what exactly do you want as Mount Kenya? Unless you need the seat of the president, that is something that you should ask direct. Otherwise, the election was done, and His Excellency the president was elected, and more so by the people of Mount Kenya, that we appreciate. But that is their government. It is the government of the Republic of Kenya. You don't have, just because you are a firstborn, you have to claim more of what we have in this country. No. Kenya is meant for Kenyans. Every single citizen in this country counts when it comes to the discipline of resources. So I don't have a better, that just because I have a majority vote that I voted Wissel as the president, I should be given an upper hand in everything that I do. And even what I propose, if there is a possibility that every tribe in this country should be given a ministerial position, if it is possible, if he cannot get the substantive one, he can get the deputy. Yes. Because the issue that now having CS and still 9 CSs and still they are claiming that they have not, they don't have anything. They have the central bank governor. They don't. Yani, what do you want?
No, don't go back there.
Yes.
You know, the problem is that sometimes you do not know the intrigues, the political intrigues and intonation of certain pronouncements. I can say for sure that it is not possible that the deputy president can go and sort out the difference between Sudi and Kesses MP. It is not possible. He has no capacity and authority because he never contributed for it. So,
but what about the fact that he is a national leader?
That is just what I'm trying to tell you. If he were a national leader, he would not run back to his base to try and consolidate his base. What I'm saying is that Sudi and Kesses, Rigiji had no control in their being elected. And even when there are feuds between them, he will not pretend that he's going to sort out. He was trying to sort out his own problem in other areas. Because he is on record as saying that he has a problem with Wakinadidi Nyoro, who are friends with their counterparts in the Rift Valley. So his main aim was to go and tell people that those who are there, that they should not transverse other constituency in the name of just working, but in the name that they're spoiling his image and competing with him. He's saying that there are young guys there who are talking recklessly and taking him head on as the leader. But he wants everybody to work under him, which is not possible. I want to concur with my friend that, you know, in this country, people must reflect our diversity in terms of tribe should be our strength. We have not used our diversity as our strength. Because if you are in a government and you have 9 CSs and many other PSs, and when you look at our parliament, it is being controlled. You know, the leader of majority is Ichungwa from Central, the chair of the budget, the finance chair, committees. So we should not say that some parts of this country are being given raw deal, like the Mount Kenya. They are not given raw deal. They are in this government, and they are majority. If you look at the treasury, the central bank, who is the CS, who is the governor? So we must use other excuses, but not about being part of the government. That is not the reality. I think the deputy president started on a very slippery note. He was very combative. He had very little regard for the former regime and those who have been in leadership for a long time. I am a first-time MP. There are many things that we have to learn. We know we are ranked first time, second, third. You must be able to be a good student. You must learn. So he came a very combative person, a very reckless talker, and he hit the wall. And that is why my friend was saying now he has repented. Repenting from where? Repenting from political mistakes or spiritual matters? It is neither here nor there. We cannot bring spiritual matters of repentance.
Mike, be fair. You have gone round. Let me respond. And last time I told
let him finish his point.
You know, I'm one against many. So what we are saying is that he must take his position as a deputy. I have just read that he has missed two flights. The choppers. He could not go to Bungoma.
Actually, that is the first story carried on there.
Yeah, I have just seen. That means that he literally has no control of the powers that it be, or it were. So, the rift could be widening, and this is just a tip of the iceberg of those who are in politics the way I am, I know this is just a tip of the iceberg. We are in for more scenarios.
So palipo na moshi pana moto.
Hiyo.
Before I come to respond, then nienda kwake tumalizie hii maneno kubuga historia.
Well, has spoken, you know, as a first time. Sasa sisi we are incoming politicians. And when you look at Rigiji, he has the power and the capacity. This is not a vice president. This is a deputy. And changing vile President Mwai kwa fire, but this one is a deputy elect. We came as a ticket, so he has the powers. Now, when he says he cannot, you call it what? Interfere. That interference. He when he went there, and I like what he has said. He's learning. He's a student. Deputy Rigathi Gachagua is also a student. He's the second time deputy president. He's learning from the current president who was the first time deputy president. If there were issues, meddling affairs in Central, the DP would come and sort them out. So why is the problem when he goes to sort out these issues, turbulence? He knows what he's doing. And number three, we need to recognize that as Honorable Gakuya, Bosi, my boss, Bazenga says, he told the president, please, Mr. President, calm the temperatures down. You know why? Because the president has been there. He understands. And let's not forget, 1987, when President Moi shifted Vice President of Nyeri, removed him, brought Akiambu, Vice President, into the picture. When we hear of political innuendos in the corridors of power from his trip in the States, now you want to change and remove Rigiji and exchange with Akiambu.
Why don't you tell us that?
So what we are saying is we are very careful.
He needs to remind us the Vice President became the President later.
Now, what we want to say is we are not ignorant. We are students of history. And the DP understands this. And this is why when he says about Rigiji repenting, I finish on this note. He understands. He came in as a bitter man. He was provoked, and people deal with it differently. Boil water here, an egg will harden, spaghetti will soften. But when people realize that they have now realized their mistakes, the egg break it, it is as soft as a spaghetti. So that is where the DP is coming in. He's actually saying on behalf of Central Kenya, we need to apologize to who? The president. And he said, we were deceived. By who? I don't know. But he knows. He's repenting. And he's saying, I'm sorry, we never again shall we bring disunity in Mount Kenya. So for that reason and for that cause, I, Justin Njau, aka Fadela, I propose for Rigiji prayer rallies of repentance. Hata kama siombagi sana, tutamuombea apone na Central ipone.
Mike, this is very serious. At least you have a segment in your show to discuss the tiff and rift between Rigiji and the head of state. Yes. If there is, we are only analyzing, you know. And if it is there, then to what extent? That is really what the show is all about. Why is it so much about Mount Kenya? I mean, I'm not really against that kind of direction, but why are we so much, you know, soaked in Mount Kenya and nothing else? I have problems in Nyamira where a farmer cannot take her bananas to Ikonge or to Kisumu. We have people in Ahero where water has been flooding. They cannot do their rice correctly and properly. They cannot have a proper market. We have people in Migori having several problems, and we have several people in Taita Taveta also where there is a water problem, I mean, because of these floods. So why is it that we are only engulfed in what is in Mount Kenya? You see, as you say, I mean, since it was just a segment, I don't have a problem, but we seem to create the impression that the political tensions are only, you know, limited to Mount Kenya, and that's a very big problem because that kind of psyche is actually misleading our people. We have issues in the rest of the country we want to look at. And that's why when the head of state said, let members of parliament go, so I expect Honorable Borero to visit wherever he wants to visit and come and say, I have seen the people of so-and-so in such and such area are very good. So, irrespective of how the deputy president is feeling as a human being, that will be entirely his issue. And he can handle it, actually. He can handle it. I don't know why you want to handshake me on. I will shake your hand shortly after this. But the issue is, and the way Oscar Sudi is feeling, or the way, you know, these people can have their own emotional adjustments, and intelligence or none of it. But the issue is not about Mount Kenya Tafadhali. This is about the country. We want water, we want roads, we want good agriculture, we want to start manufacturing, as the UDA manifesto says. We want to see that there are roads, we want to see good infrastructure, and there is water problem is resolved, Medicare, and all these kind of things.
Okay,
now the issue is, and this is the truth, when the gentleman Njau says that in politics, you've got to be super smart. And of course, central people have seen already, they are not fools, so they have seen that anyway here, we are headed in the direction we do not want to go. Why? Because for them, they have built an economy as a people of Central Kenya. And the moment it goes down, it's like in the stocks. When you see a certain stock goes down, the shareholders are quick to call in and ask that in coffee, in tea, in milk, all these things, they are not growing as they should. But I have not seen a smarter person in the country than the head of state, because the head of state warned you also, and he was in Bomet. You can go back in YouTube. And he told you that please vote for me. This other issue you're talking about, Mount Kenya, I will handle for you. And he has handled it. He has told you, you cannot just come here and try to, you seek more than nine seats. You say they have 9 CSS and whatever. So he is handling it. And by the way, I think that the president does things intentionally. I don't think he does things because they have been pushed to his table. So he will handle the deputy president, that is for sure. He needs support to handle, but not only the deputy president, he needs support to handle Rift Valley, Nyanza, Coast, and all these places until 2027, when you can come here and say, we want to support Rigathi Gachagua, or we want to support Ndindi Nyoro, or we want to support, who knows, Musalia Mudavadi.
Let's close that matter at that. Now, ukona kitu unataka kusema.
I just want to congratulate him. You know, he was not there when we began. And I told you, hii gazeti mmeleta shida mingi, haikuwa. So he's very right. Let's not focus.
I want to also correct. I want to correct something that he said, that in Nyeri alone they got over 300,000 votes. 272. That if it was not there, the presidency would not have gone to William. When you go to Bungoma, also, Wetangula will say, if it was not for Ford Kenya, where Bungoma gave over 300 votes, then they would not be president.
I think
so
if you need to look at the text and the context. So I was saying 47% of Central, but within Central, Nyeri alone is 272,000. So Bungoma, when you look at and he said the shareholders, we are looking at 47%, but alone by Rigiji, becoming DP, was 272. So if you remove that, out of 233 which he won, the president won, you're looking at him being a superior factor.
I think there's one thing I want to say, which of course, you know what's happening, the perceived rift between His Excellency and the deputy, is something also that we witnessed during His Excellency the President, when he was the deputy, and Kenyatta. We used to hear a lot of talks from people like Tuchu, people like who, and that thing came to, the dream came true, that those simmering were actually the true position, which was actually happening. I think as at now, Mike, His Excellency the President, since they are sharing the presidency with the deputy president, and for the sake of the unity of this nation, he has to protect his deputy. That is the bottom line.
Yes. Let's go to something else. And that is a story that is told on page 4 of the Daily Nation. Nairobi UDA camps fight for supremacy in grassroots polls.
I hope I'm the one starting.
Actually, I was coming to you because I'm very passionate about UDA grassroots. What's your take on Saturday's grassroots polls?
Number one, Honorable James Gakuya, a.k.a. Bazenga, the incoming UDA Nairobi boss, won out of 17 constituencies, he got 12. Sakaja got 5. I'm reminded when I went to church, and my bishop preached about a story about a mosquito mother who let the young mosquito go out, but in the evening delayed coming back home. And when the young mosquito came, was told, what happened? You took time. And she said, no, everywhere I went, people were clapping for me. They were clapping for me. Perception was, she thought, the mosquito thought people were clapping, but they wanted to kill. I think what Sakaja needs to realize, the claps he has been getting are death claps, because the reality on ground is Honorable Gakuya is now coming in, and now we are going to phase 4 when we finish this. So this that was happening, this hula baloo that was being created, is just the kicks of a dying horse. That's why I want to tell the people.
There are faction wars between members of the UDA.
Where in you know when Nairobi, you say
in Nairobi.
Let's not confuse. That's why I said again, terminologies. It was election. There is a winner, there is a loser. So they are not tensional factions. It's just kuna mshindi na ule ameshindwa.
But also there are some quarters that claimed the process was not 100% fair.
How? Unajua media to come pole pole. It was very fair, very clean. In fact, where they repeated was Starehe. And that was done on Saturday. Why? Because goons were hired to disrupt. But Kenyans are very woke. Nairobians, for this matter. Nairobians are very woke. They woke up and they said, we know our leader is James Gakuya. And because he has been there, this guy understands the terrain, and he now was the one. Sakaja tried to bring the goons, but guys said, no, listen, take these guys off. We know who we want. So there wasn't any war. Ni kelele tu ya chura kini imeisha hii. Inaitwa kufinish kumalo.
Finish kumalo.
This
is the latest balance, street balance. MP Peter Orero, ningetaka kujua the outcome of these grassroots elections, how they influence the politics of 2027 within Nairobi County.
One, I would not, you know, as I'm a member of ODM.
I know.
So first, I would not want to get into the intricacies and the process of the election that is going on. I wish my brothers well. Gakuya is my colleague. Sakaja is also my governor in Nairobi. As we are waiting for the final verdict, and we'll see. But, you know, this is a party at a very rudimental stage. This is their first election, and they are also learning from others, especially from parties which have been in existence for a long time, like ODM. Normally, party election brings about the structure and brings the party line in shape. And I think the winners of this party election, because after this they will not have any other election again until 2027, we would wish to see whether they are not going to have a fallout, especially when it reaches at the national level. And even in Nairobi, you want to see how it is going to impact on the future election. You know, in Nairobi, Azimio almost swept the whole of Nairobi, apart from my friend Gakuya and 2 others. It means he's also strong on the ground. So he was not swept by the winds. But I don't think it is going to affect the other constituencies which are in Nairobi. You know, the most informed county in terms of political matters is Nairobi. Nairobi, where we have people who are experiencing first-hand political impact, because the GDP of this country is basically controlled by the revenue collection within this region, within Nairobi. The leadership of Nairobi shapes both the economy and the political class in this country. And I think the elections of UDA, and now that they have started, they need to be very, very careful, because normally the party organs determine who becomes an MP in their party. But you see, as it is not going to affect us as ODM or as the Azimio in that matter, because Nairobi has always been an opposition zone, and it does not matter which party, which elections is being carried out. The dominance party in Nairobi is ODM, and also the umbrella Azimio, of course, not just for now, but we have history in the past. We have been there for a long time. The history now will determine the future. We need the history to predict the future. And we are predicting, we only have 3 years to go. There's going to be very little change in terms of representation within the Nairobi County, despite this hullabaloo of the UD elections. And in fact, like in my constituency, it was like there was no election because very little happened. There is a ward in my constituency where the chair got 9 votes and he won. Against 2. So those are the kind of elections we are talking about here. So in terms of representation, I don't think we are going to have any change. But I am happy that they are experiencing what other stable political parties within East Central and Africa have been experiencing for a long time. We wish them well. Let them join us.
All right. We'll take a short break, but we'll come back and continue with this conversation. On Politics, we're looking at the political landscape within the country, but we continue with the conversation right after this break.
Technology has become a crucial part of our society. Without technological advancements, so much of our everyday lives would be drastically different. As technology develops, it strives to fulfill the changing needs of society. This means that technology exists to help us achieve the things that we wouldn't be able to achieve without it. Take on Tech looks at the advantages and downside of technological innovation in a world that is becoming increasingly dependent on new digital technologies. Every Monday at 10:30 p.m.
Tungekuja usia mimi chai.
Mimi niko zangu naenda Mwembe Tayari kukula maembe ya ndondo.
Nani napeleka nyinyi?
Tunaenda na employer.
Employees.
Employers.
Wageni wakiingia. Haya, layo. Halaye. Ha.
Katunge. Malamba mbamba. Naomba niingie.
Maraba, shikamoni.
Chabasunte.
Hii nayo ni kukoroga mawazo.
Mugaka.
Yeye.
Mizimu imesema atakayekuwa kiongozi ni yule pete itamchagua.
Bahari imechafuka. Mrithi wangu ni yule atakayeniletea vuo la kuoga.
Sasa na hili vuo wachana nalo, wakati wake umepita.
Pete hii ni ishara ya utawala.
Huu uongozi tusimwachie Jasiri.
Kwa nini uongozi usimwende Jasiri? Na wauliza nyinyi, Jasiri ana nini?
Kiva hakuna atakayekusumbua.
Pleasure to have you on board here on Good Morning Kenya. This is Eye on Politics. My name is Mike Migwe, and we are talking about UDA politics. And before we went on a break, I wanted Rotich to respond to the question of how you think these primaries have been conducted. What's your take on that?
Thank you so much, Mike. I think in any election that we have witnessed in this country, there are haves and there are have-nots. And what we are expecting in any election is a percentage, just a certain percentage of abiding to the law. Otherwise, as my brother said, that it was 100%, it has never been 100%. There has been ups and downs, people agreeing and disagreeing. Of course, that is very normal in electioneering, time like this one. But as to the importance of the party, you know, the strength of the party depends entirely on its membership. If the members are strong, if the leadership is strong, the party will be strong.
Yes.
And what the UDA actually is doing is crystallizing, is strengthening the party. And as my brother said, Mheshimiwa, he said about Nairobi, the influence of the ODM versus UDA. You know, majority of the elected leaders in Nairobi actually came through the ODM. And it is a fact that they are a party to be reckoned with, which of course the UDA is trying to unseat. And going forward, I believe with the good leadership, I mean the streamlining the party leadership in Nairobi of the UDA, I think they are going to make an impact. And you know, my brother said is that people will always would want to associate themselves with the party that is winning. And if the majority of the Nairobians will be perceiving or rather viewing that the next government will be UDA, I mean, by the way they look, they will most probably join UDA. Even you may be surprised that UDA may take up more than half of Nairobi, away from, from ODM. So that is a fact that we must, the ODM must be very careful and be a fact to it that Nairobi will change, and it will change for UDA. Don't relax that things are rosy and they are good for you. ODM. That may not be the real thing. As these people are actually crystallizing their strength on the ground, I expect the worst in the days to come as ODM.
Yes. Wakili, do you agree that UDA can unsettle the ODM dominance within the...
I actually don't know, because I'm not a very good predictor in political sense to say that it will sit or not. It will unseat the ODM or not. But like the Honorable Rero is saying, we learn from the past history. But of course, if you look at what UDA did in 2022, then history may not be very important because it just came in and swept everybody. And even at Bomas, they swept everything. You are wondering, we always know that if people are in power, they will control certain instruments and apparatus, but the UDA just swept through. Yes. So I think I will leave it to the good politicians to exactly confirm who is likely to be the boss for the UDA in Nairobi. But we must commend what is happening, because these are party primaries. We must congratulate and actually commend the UDA for how they have conducted their primaries. Because of course, if there was any, small push and pull fights here and there, those ones are not in the threshold where we can be worried in terms of the growth of our democracy. The fact that the people in the wards and at the constituency level have been given a chance to participate in determining who becomes a leader is paramount and is extremely important. And by the way, that is why we are respected in the world now. That's why you see a superpower country inviting us and asking us to even participate in other global engagements. It is not just because UDA has a president called William Ruto, like Kenya has a president called William Ruto. No, it is these people study how we conduct our democratic activities, how we allow people to participate, and then of course how, when you have been beaten, how you behave, how you go to the court, you go to the Supreme Court, and then a decision is made. Let me tell you, probably half of those decisions, or even 3/4, are wrong decisions. They are not really, what the honest results could reveal. But a referee is a referee. Even when he has gone wrong, we agree with the courts and we say, okay, fine, you've beaten me this time, I'll wait for another 5 years. So this activity of the primaries by the UDA must be looked at from the lenses of the law. it is the Political Parties Act that, you know, has stated that, you know, if you want to change your leadership, it should be through elections. And those elections as a process starts from the primaries, goes all the way. Now, another beautiful thing done by the voters in Nairobi, we do not know the final results, like Fadola is saying. They are now waiting for the county level elections. But at least the fact that at the village level, ward level, then come to what? Constituency, they are showing the governor dust. I mean, I feel for him. He should win. If it was within my sentiments and feelings, he should win. I mean, he has only started. He's the boss in Nairobi. He should win at least to give him more, you know, encouragement to proceed in political leadership. But the fact that people are telling you, we will vote you out, is again a serious sign of the growth of our democracy. They are not afraid whether you bring feeding programs to our schools, whether you clean the city, you say now Nairobi will work, that is okay, it's our money, but we will not vote for you. Not me, I mean, that's what the UDAs are saying, isn't it? So again, that is a sign of grown democracy. And I think we are to commend the UDA for that. So when they do the now county elections, if they again go that direction but come up and say, no, we want to vote for Sakaja, because he has not lost as yet, you know. I mean, he's got all the wherewithal nowadays. He has all the money, he has all the networks. He can go ahead actually and beat Gakuya again. No, you see, he doesn't want me to say that. Gakuya will be beat. I mean, I'm just saying it's a contest, Fadola. I mean, anybody can win. Yeah. But in case he comes up and again he wins, we should not hear the likes of Fadola saying our elections have been stolen or what. You can say that, of course, but there should be no physical, you know, fights or blocking of the democratic processes. So I commend that kind of elections.
He has said something, that if Sakaja comes up and he monies and he pays, and that's what is happening on the ground. Right now, politically, there's a term known as shakahola. Shakahola is where people go to get what he's saying, all right? And then the priest of Shakahola is Sakahola, all right? And I told you the last time I was here, there's a word in English known as abomination. And I told you President Ruto is dealing with abomi-continental. Rigiji is dealing with abomination. Gakuya is dealing with Abomi County. We have already won
Are these spiritual terms or what?
We have already won Shakahola and Sakahola. And so I want to tell the people watching, this is what we are against in terms of money. We know Bazenga, what we call in ground, akona mukuchu, atukatai. But he is a leader, he is loved, he has been in this thing, and we are sending a message. And I would like to tell Muhesh, you know, he said, you know, this party, we have been here, you should learn. We are learning. Our party leader is a very good student who has learned from his boss, and he saw it 2022. So don't underestimate UDA. Don't underestimate where we are going. We have done it before, and like he says, 2022, if history is to go by, it ended in 2022. Now we are rewriting history. And UDA is a party to watch and learn, and we are there as incoming, and we'll
Mike, you know, I don't like being misquoted. My brother Fadola, if today, my brother Fadola, with tremendous respect, we don't know each other for long.
It's Fadela.
Fadela. Okay.
Fadela.
Yeah, Fadela, if Fadela today, with tremendous respect, if he had the money he wants, I don't know how much money his bank account has, but if he had the money he wants, today he would be sitting as a member of parliament. I'm telling you, because with this gusto, with this energy, he would be a member of parliament.
It's a question of timing.
So the question, when we talk about money, and we should be honest, when we talk about money, it is a factor in our politics. We would wish that it wasn't, but money in the United States, in the Europe, Asia, and here in Kenya is a factor. The only issue should be that when people are going to vote, they shouldn't be bribed. That is what the law is against. Yes. But in terms of you're coming to a town hall, whether a politician could buy tea, a politician would make sure he pays transport, that is not objectionable.
Let me close this. Let me close this. Let us be fair.
Fadela also means fat hella. So we are coming.
Oh, I see. I just want to the account is fair.
You know, I'm not. I was not bragging about ODM.
Yes.
And my colleague also said that people will see which party is in power. so that they may shift their alliances when the voting time comes. But I want to tell, I said that the most politically enriched minds in this country are the Nairobians. ODM has never been in power, but they have always had the highest number of representation within Nairobi. So as ODM, we don't care which party is in power. The Nairobians who are in ODM, because they are aligned to the visions and of the ODM political party. So let them just chill. Whether the UDA conducts election, whether they are in power, the position of the minds of the Nairobians will always be the same, because ODM is a party with a clear vision and structure.
Yes. Let's shift gears and now talk about a story that is carried on the front page of the Star newspaper. They are saying how agencies ignored Ruto's foreign trips ban. Controller of budget says the institution spent 18.2 billion in the first 9 months of current financial year. Your reaction, Bwana Rotich?
I think the issue of foreign trips, Mike, we must also charge with what really comes out of it. You see, we've been so keen to know how much they have spent, and we have not been so keen to know how much they have brought. So the Kenyans actually, like the previous discussion that was in the air all over, that His Excellency the President has seen a tourist spend over a whooping 200 million, which became a hoax, hoax. It was never true. And it is actually in the nature of Kenyans that they do speculate, they do what. But of course, we must also be very careful, Mike, as to who are these talkers. Where are they originating? Because there are people who have never seen any positivity that this government has actually done. They are always prone to opposing. They are always prone to negativity. They are always prone to, there are those who were in the previous government, whom up to today, they have never agreed that this government won. And these are the people who have always come up with negativity, shading all sorts of things that are not true. So, if we have to be true to ourselves, Mike, we must know, like now, the presidential trip to US, when you value what they came with, and you compare with less than 10 million shillings that they are saying that they actually spent, it is worth so much doing than really saying we were supposed to have sat back and now wait for things to come. It cannot happen like that, Mike. I think it is a high time that we look at these things with a lot of critique. And of course be positive of what we really want. What the pairing of the United States, not the United States, but the foreign trips. There are those trips that are even made by county governments, reckless trips, where they go for benchmarking, they go for what, and they spend whooping millions of money, which of course they are never realized when they come back. But with the trips of His Excellency the President, we have seen, we've read the worth of such trips, and that we should be rest assured that such trips have been worth more, than what we are actually losing in terms of the value of trips.
Ministries, departments, and government agencies, according to the Controller of Budget, have burned over 12.3 billion in domestic travel and 5.8 billion on foreign trips. And this comes in the wake where the president said we must cut on the austerity measures. What is your reaction to that?
My reaction is, as an economist, you said it very well. And we're dealing with a president who's very honest. This whole hula baloo of the jet and everything, I was watching and I was saying, I was just saying, God help me. I would like to have friends who can give me a jet of 10 million. Because my friends wananipatianga tray ya mayai tatu.
So I realized you're getting into a conversation that is very
deep. It's a very deep conversation.
But you are a fat hella.
That was a good one.
You see, here two people where you have a father who can give you 1 million, and then you have a father who can give you advice. Those are two different people. And so when the president says, my budget was 20, he leads from the front. He said it. And you saw, he is a doctor. We have never had a doctor president before. So he said he leads from the front, and he said his budget was 20 M and the friends said 10. Now, the other bit is that, like Dr. Ruticha said, that mitigation, those benchmarking trips, if they are not bringing benefit, we shouldn't even analyze them. They should be banned. But here's the thing about the presidents, and I've read the book known as The President's Club. Nobody sees the effects of the president or talks about the positivity of the president while in office. It is when he is out of office that people begin to say he was doing something. Even our past presidents, we allude them and say, hey, they did something. So Dr. William Ruto is doing something, and like he said it very well, there are some people who are just born with negative energy. If you have energy, that energy, let it be positive to the point where you critique and criticize. But for me, when I looked at what the article was telling you, I was just saying, you know, this pressure of holding the hand, akiwa huko, if you're going to support me to become president, I will hold your hand every day. Every day, but kama una hiyo, tuache hiyo story.
How do we achieve, how do we enforce these austerity measures and ensure we do not spend monies on unnecessary foreign travel or within domestic activities?
The simple trick to that is kupunguza kifua, like ego. Like there should be no, what will you do, so what? That attitude. If we can wear the attitude of saving the country's resources, then it will be different. And that can be borrowed from several other countries where presidents are not willing to overspend. Even by the virtue of the fact that you know if you go to Korea or to USA, you're likely to get $1 trillion, it does not justify then saying that I can spend up to 2 billion. After all, I am bringing 1 trillion. This is one view. The other view is the law. When you talk about public officers and how they spend, you are bringing them under the armpit of what we call a Public Finance Act. The way the president would handle a friend's gift is stipulated under that act. And casually to come and say, you know, my friends gave me ABC, could it, thank you, could it translate to a bribe, or it translates to an influence that tomorrow when the friend is requesting for a favor, you could easily give that friend a favor against another poor Ishmael who has not given any gift. So when we talk about public service, it is a totally different ballgame. And anyway, you know, now our head of state has been recognized globally, and definitely there is more in terms of the kind of jealous and the kind of venom from other friendly countries who have not attained that same recognition. In terms of his travel, security and safety is paramount. Definitely for William Ruto, his safety and his security globally is actually paramount. When you look at how leaders, you know, conduct themselves, our head of state must take care of himself. But having said that, there is no excuse, Mike. For example, they are saying we have spent about 12 billion in local,
12.3 billion
in local travel.
Yes, that is
so you
ministries,
see,
departments, and agencies.
They are taking cue from the head of state. The moment the head of state travels in, you know, luxurious and all that, then the governor feels like, I am the mini president, quote unquote. I am the head of state for Nairobi, head of state for whatever, Nyamira. And you want to match that. I mean, you must jump as high as your teacher, if possible. So I think that in terms of traveling, Mike, the chief of staff and the concerned treasury ministry must put a cap. Even if it's the head of state, the issues to consider are safety and security of our president. After that, the issue of sleeping in the jet or doing this and that, that I think should be eliminated completely. And then the number of people you travel with. There's a young boy he traveled with, there's a young man he traveled with. I don't even, I mean, there were so many people there who I don't know what they went for. So that people go to see him and look at basketballer and look at Steve Harvey. And you know, that level of excitement is honestly demeaning to our country. So I think that even the number of people you're traveling with should be critical people who are going to participate in the kind of negotiations you are going to do when you're bringing money. But if you carry the whole world, you want to carry everybody to be happy and all that, and then spend so much billions, it is actually unfair to the country.
Just to react to
respond to that, then niende kwa
I think the people who are among the entourage of His Excellency the President was what actually having them. You know, when you talk about the youth of this nation, there are a lot of things that they have been hearing about the ICT, whatever, filming, and all this and that. And I tell you, Mike, whoever accompanied His Excellency the President was what having in that plane. Why? It is because, you know, it had a wider representation. It represented the youth, it represented the women, it represented the leadership of this country. It represented even the ministries that we have in this country. So whatever the plan that as it was made in such a way that it was representative. If it is a youth of this country now is able to talk about the experience that they saw in the United States of America. So that is something that we must emulate in this nation. Whenever we are doing anything, let us combine, let us bring on board everybody, all in country, because youth matters in this country, women matters in this country, elderly people matters in this country. And when we have them on board, I think we are becoming a complete house.
Rotich, can you send those youth? Can you send the youth? Can you send the youth on their own?
I think they are through. Maybe you come this side.
Fadhela, I know you will defend. In the interest of time, let kwanza mheshimiwa respond.
Hakuna shida. We defend Butita.
Now set
who is Butita?
The young man.
Set the question. Set the question.
What do you think of this? How agencies are using the public funds? Because even here the paper is saying Nyakango rejects another 58 billion budget request from the state.
I think that is what we needed to have been talking about with my colleagues here. The austerity measures.
Yes.
I think Nyakango is the controller of budgets.
Yeah.
And I think he's trying to put her foot down.
Yes.
She's from the mountain. I didn't know we can have such tough ladies from those sides. Not this mountain. You also have a mountain of Kisses, also a mountain.
Yeah. She's from Nyamira.
Yes. So, you see, I look at the former president. One of the presidents who brought this country, even the GDP, to a very high level was Mwai Kibaki, a great economist. Throughout his 2 terms, he never traveled outside this country more than 10 times. The records are there. But he ensured that there was gradual and progressive economic growth in this country.
Yes.
He introduced measures, domestic borrowing. He brought in, he made Wakina Oduor, those who had a critical mind to make sure that we have growth in this country. We cannot talk of austerity measures and we spend 18-point-something billion when you look at both foreign and local trips. Yet, we can use 18 billion to employ all the teachers in this country on a permanent and pensionable basis. The 46,000 that we require less than 18 billion to be employed, and we sort out the education system in this country. So we must put our priorities right. And if we have to move this country, our foreign debt is more than 9 trillion.
Yes.
So if we have to move, it means that we have to have measures that will bring down the expenditure appropriately within our limits. But if we are going to operate from without our limits, then we are not going to talk about these austerity measures. Let's when we analyze the trip of the president, we became the major non-NATO alliance. We need to look at really what does it come with in terms of security of our country and also our relation with other countries to Kenya. So this 18, we need to look at it, and I support the control of budgets. Even as a member of parliament over my oversight role, we need to bring this down to help us control the economy of this country.
Thank you, gentlemen. In the interest of time, 30 seconds each, your parting shot.
Thank you so much, Mike. I think
seconds.
my parting shot is that we are all in agreement that this country should actually reduce the cost of living.
Yes.
Because that is something that is widely spoken by Kenyans.
Yes.
It is so loud.
Yeah.
And even in the budget that is coming, they must look into the ordinary mwananchi on how we should handle or how we can bring down the cost of living in this country.
Fadela.
My camera. To the Kanairo Nairobians, thank you so much for supporting the UDA Nairobi boss incoming, Honorable Gakuya. Na hii lazima to finish kumalo kama kawaida. Shakahola imeisha, Sakahola ameenda, Bazenga ndio kusema hii Kanairo. Asante sana.
Thank you, Mike. Why is the church failing Kenyans? This is my major concern. Why is the church offering a podium and a forum where politicians can jostle and fight each other? The church has forgotten its major role of saving souls from their bigger problems on earth and take them to the lane of God. Why has the church become captive? This is my major concern.
Yes. Mheshimiwa.
I just want to thank KBC for inviting us for such an elaborate talk with good minds. But lastly, I would not be here without Kibra members who voted for me to represent them in Parliament. I want to thank them.
Thank you so much, gentlemen, for gracing our show. That is Mheshimiwa Peter Orero, who is the MP for Kibra, and also Wakili Arnold Jaribo.
Actually, Ishmael Jaribo.
Ishmael Jaribo.
Thank you.
Okay. And also Dr. Rotich Joseph, who is a political analyst, and Jasiel Njau, aka Fadela. Asanteni sana for coming on the show. This is where we end Matters Eye on Politics. Be sure to continue watching Good Morning Kenya because there's more in line for you. My name is Mike. Maybe bye-bye for now.
Mizimu imesema atakayekuwa kiongozi ni yule pete itamchagua.
Bahari imechafuka. Mrithi wangu ni yule atakayeniletea vuo la kuoga.
Sasa na hili vuo wachana nalo, wakati wake umepita.
Pete hii ni ishara ya utawala.
Huu uongozi tusimwachie Jasiri.
Kwa nini uongozi usimwende Jasiri? Na wauliza nyinyi, Jasiri ana nini?
Kiva, hakuna atakayekusumbua.
Technology has become a crucial part of our society. Without technological advancements, so much of our everyday lives would be drastically different. As technology develops, it strives to fulfill the changing needs of society. This means that technology exists to help us achieve the things that we wouldn't be able to achieve without it. Take on Tech looks at the advantages and downside of technological innovation in a world that is becoming increasingly dependent on new digital technologies. Every Monday at 10:30 p.m.
Are you a talented artist? Or are you passionate about a topic you want to discuss? But money can be very hard to find for an upcoming artist. Don't worry, Studio Mashinani has got your back. Sign up on ajira.co.ke to book a session with our music and video producers across the country. Work on your music, jingles, spoken words, and even podcasts to realize your dream. All for free. Studio Mashinani, Radani Talent.
This tea is tasteless. It has no sugar. I can even smell milk in it. Halafu this chapati ni unga tu zimeshikanishwa na maji.
Guys, if you don't like my cooking, you don't like my chapati and chai, please return them.
If you want something so bad, the universe brings it to you. I really wonder what these young girls see in such old men.
Clearly you need spectacles.
Well, Mbulek Sapo, you don't talk to Zaka like that.
Can you imagine? The other day, Benito was calling me Bamba. I did not imagine, so I did not respond. Then I heard, Dandy.
Wait, what?
Yes, exactly my response. I said, what?
Tungekuja usia mimi chai.
Mimi niko zangu naenda Mwembe Tayale kukula maembe ya ndondo.
Nani napeleka nyinyi?
Tunaenda na employer.
Employees.
Employers.
Wageni wakiingia. Haya, layo. Hello ye. Ha.
Katungi.
Malamba mbamba. Naomba niingie.
Maraba, shikamoni.
Chabasunte. Hii nayo ni kukoroga mawazo.
Mugaka.
Yeye.
On KBC Channel 1, we are a TV station like no other. Get a taste of the best in entertainment.
Yes, indeed.
Feel the passion.
Will you promise me?
I swear that you will never lose me. I can't get married to you.
I'm sure you knew about it. That's why you're making fun of me.
Experience the drama.
Get out. Who is the man in this one?
And the laughter.
Hii wigi umevaa kichwani. Sisi wakati tulikuwa tunaapishwa tunapewa mheshimiwa.
Move to the beat.
We are live from Broadcasting House.
And get informed on the latest happenings. KBC Channel 1.
Wow. Yeah!
We are the full package.
Oh, yes.
And Kenya's watching.
Thank you very much for joining us.
And we are back. This is Good Morning Kenya. And from political matters that were really heated up right here in studio, we now get into a different conversation. And we will be looking at the solutions to climate change, solutions to climate change impact on built environment. That is what we'll be looking at. And we'll try to look at how climate change has impacted built environment. And joining me for this conversation are two architects. We have architect Kangau Kega, and he is an architect and building contractor. We also have architect Teresa Odulo, who is a safety and risk, who is into safety and risk management. Welcome to the show.
Thank you very
We are
much.
pleased to have you.
Thank you.
Now,
Thank
if we
you
can
very much.
just get into how climate change impacts built environment. How does it impact built environment?
Thank you very much. We are talking about climate change and the building environment. Now, buildings per se are a fabric of the physical space that we as human beings live in. Now, the climate has an impact on our buildings because what happens around the building and what happens to the building through the seasons of the weather have either positive impact or negative impact. Also, the buildings themselves have a contributory factor to the climate because buildings in themselves are ecosystems. So they also contribute to the climate. So it's a two-way thing. It's the climate to the building, and also the building to the climate. So that is, it's a like I say, a more rounded back-to-back kind of relationship. Yeah.
And maybe what evidences are there to show that actually climate change is impacting, you know, built environments?
If we even take a step just behind and define what climate change is. Climate change is what impacts, the negative impacts from human activities on the climate. So what are those human activities? For us now it is specifically the built environment, the buildings we do, the roads, the infrastructure. And some of those, for example, part of the effects of the buildings that we have are because there's no, when it rains, there's no water permeating the ground, then we have flooding. So those are part of the negative impacts. Part of buildings, infrastructure, we prevent winds from passing through areas. So then you have something called an urban heat island, where because all these buildings absorb heat and they give off heat. So then there's no natural ventilation because because of these tall buildings, they prevented the wind from passing through. And so we have then increased ambient temperatures. So those are part of the things that we say we as humans affect the climate and therefore have a negative impact on the climate. Yes.
All right. Now, you've touched on flooding, and that is something that we are just from, battling with or struggling with. Just a few weeks ago, we had the flooding situation in the country, and we saw the menace it caused on our roads. The constructions on our roads seems to not be at par. Matters risk management on, flooding and so on and so forth. So what could be the solutions to such, with our buildings, with the roads? How should urban planning be evolved in order to be ready for such, eventualities? Maybe to you.
I can start. What we have seen, especially what has happened to the city of Nairobi, is as a result of our human impact on the environment. We were able to successfully, unfortunately, disrupt the normal flow of what we call storm drainage. Now, in our case, we've had over the years what I would call poor planning. Planning in such a manner that we plan for the present, we don't plan for the future. We've had, like in the last incident, where a flooding that has not been seen in many years. But our institutions, because this falls squarely on what we call institutional intervention, we have laws that have been set up in place, but the enforcement of the same laws, in as much as what do we do to the drainage structures that exist. The other thing is, what do we do to adherence to the building codes? For example, in our buildings we have where you're not supposed to build from one end of the plot to the other end of the plot, such to allow way leaves of drainage water to pass through. We've had situations whereby even contractors will take shortcuts, where when they're doing a road, they'll focus more on what is seen, that is the tarmac, but the drainage which falls, which is underground. Actually, when I was a small kid, I was always fascinated by those big tunnels you'll see under the road, and you're like, what are these things for? But you find probably in the older Nairobi, in this last flooding, that didn't happen. But what I would call the more recent developments, where maybe our institutions did not take that into consideration. We had a lot of water going downstream, and then we didn't have enough infrastructure to deal with that water. So I would say that has been the problem with that. So when you come also into the building, we have seen several cases whereby our buildings are also not able to withstand what you call the rainwater. We have simple ways of rainwater harvesting. If, say, I collected X number of liters from the rain and I was able to store Y, that means what will be going off into the surface drainage will be less. Something else also, we've reduced our green spaces. You know, trees, grass, and gardens absorb rainwater. So we know we do a lot of cabro, nice cabro in our parkings, nice cabro in the little space that is left by the buildings. And now this water always will find a way to go downstream. So that has been our biggest issue. Our own human actions that have led to the situation that we saw. Yes, thank you.
And in terms of risk and safety management, Madam Teresa, maybe is it possible to examine and tell that this building is actually not efficient enough? You know, this or that building is not properly built to sustain or to be resilient enough matters climate change in case of any, you know, calamities that may happen. Is it possible to do that assessment?
In safety and risk management, one of the very many things we first start by doing is identifying the risk. Whatever the risks are, they're all identified and they're all quantified and qualified, and we determine that this is a major risk, this is not. And having said that, then we say, okay, we're going to do these mitigation measures against these risks. And we use that information, therefore, to come up with strategies against those risks. You see, that helps us in planning disaster management. If you, part of the building formation is you start with the foundation and then you go to the building envelope and so, and then into the interiors. You can identify a building very quickly depending on the size of the building, on the footprint, and the type of foundation you get. If the foundation is inadequate, then you definitely cannot go a certain height above which, and if you do, then it will start failing. So you see, we already know the risks are there, but we don't put in the measures against it. You cannot build KICC on the foundations of a 3-bedroom house. There are certain things that are really demanded to make sure these things work. So risk identification is major in terms of planning, in terms of disaster management, even in terms of urban planning, as we spoke about earlier. We need to know what are we looking at now, we future plan for that, and we future proof it, so that when something happens, we're able to say, okay, the water did come, but it did, we were able to mitigate at least half of it. So the other half, what are we going to do about it? And there has to be continuous learning as well. Something has happened, we sit and we say, okay, we did try to plan for it, and at least we got some part of it right. And what is that was not right? How do we fix that for the future? What we feel that is happening is climate change, yes, is happening, and there's the climate impact, but are we future-proofing it? Are there measures being done to make sure this will not happen again? Or even if it does happen, the impact will not be severe. And that is the most important thing, that it should not happen. If it does happen, then the impact should be reduced as much as possible.
Yeah, I hear you on that. And when you look at matters construction, Mr. Kega, maybe what measures should be put in place in order to avoid, you know, nowadays we've been seeing so many instances where buildings are just collapsing. Could it be due to climate, you know, change, or what exactly is happening, you know, and what should be done, what measures should be taken to avoid such?
First and foremost, is the reason we have problems that we've seen buildings coming down has been, if you start from the top, there's been a problem at the institutional capacity, institutional intervention. We have codes that have been blatantly disregarded in terms of structural integrity of buildings. And people have gone ahead and built things which are for human occupation in total disregard of building codes. And what has happened is these buildings have come up, people have invested money, and unfortunately the same investors have lost the same money on buildings that have collapsed. So the first and foremost is the following of the building code from us, the consultants, to the enforcer. The second one...
And before you even get to the second one, maybe when you're talking about this construction and building codes, what are we looking at, if you can just mention?
The building code is a set of rules and regulations that specify to the consultants how design should be done. So if you're doing this X number of square meters, X number of floors, there is what the structure needs to be, there's what the spaces need to be, the sizes, the materials, the construction methodology. For example, concrete. Concrete comes in different classes. So we have the concrete class for foundations, we have concrete class for superstructures, and then steel members, steel sizes, and the materials. On top of that, there is how those materials are brought together into a building. So that put together is what forms the building. But we've had sequentially all these things being disregarded, whereby in the grid to make money, we've had people taking shortcuts. But our institutions have been unable to enforce the same, because if somebody goes rogue, be it a developer, then our institutions should be able, the county government, the National Construction Authority, and even our regulatory bodies, to be able to stop that. The second one now has been about what I can call our buildings' inability to change within time. In this regard, I would call it adaptive design. I'm in a segment of the industry whereby we're in an industry where we are doing what you call modular construction. We look, for example, the way cars have developed. Over time, we have electric cars now, we have automatic transmission, but our buildings have remained the same tradition, the same heavy stone, the same way that we build. So our buildings should also be adaptive. Even in terms of disaster management, there's something we call frangible architecture, whereby you even design a building. Say, for example, Kano Plains. We know year in, year out, the River Nyando would more or less break the banks if the rain is heavy. So we would see that even if it's dry now, look at 2 months to come, why don't we elevate the foundations, elevate the slab, such that in case the rains came, the water will be able... Frangible architecture means you design for damage. You have structures that you have what we'll call non-core functions of the areas that will be susceptible to damage. And we could elevate those foundations and have the livable spaces slightly above ground, because there's a research that was done. The waters in Kano Plains hardly rise above a meter. I had a discussion with the Secretary General of the Kenya Red Cross Society, and he told me they've done a research and they've seen, that is Dr. Ibrahim, the water never rises beyond a meter. So all we need to do is basically raise the floors of the houses to slightly above a meter, and we'll have all these people not being susceptible to their houses being washed away. As to how they will access the houses during the floods, then that can be a temporary measure. You have ladders and stuff like that. We also have a way that in case you already bought a plot and during this flood then you saw it will flood, then we encourage you to probably consulting an architect, redesign it such that you have non-core functions like storage in the areas susceptible to flooding, and then you can build above that. And when that happens, your sofas, your carpets, and what your electronics will not be affected. If it's storage, you could easily move those things above ground. So that is how currently, if you find yourself in the current situation, but we need to plan ahead and not have people building on riparian areas. I would also comment about how our government has dealt with this issue. There was a knee-jerk reaction to, in my opinion, to the flooding, where we had people measuring 30 meters on either side. It is there in law, as I said earlier. The codes exist. But now when we come and start enforcing them in that style, and you chase people out and you come and start demolishing buildings, because those buildings didn't come up in a day. It was a process. So we would encourage the government, yes, to enforce those codes and enforce people not building in riparian areas, but we'd also like to see it done probably in a more humane way. So that should be the way. So we talk about adaptive design, but since we are already in the situation today, let us deal with that as my colleague is talking about now, disaster mitigation, because we plan ahead to what will happen, but we deal with the current situation. We do it humanely and know that it's going to happen. Today we're talking about flooding. Probably next time it will be a talk about winds. But in Kenya, we've seen generally we are in a very good zone, regionally, worldwide, where we don't have all these cyclones, all these ice things. So our biggest issue is dealing with flooding, and we've seen it over and over the years, and it's something that we could deal with effectively.
Yeah, we could plan ahead.
We could plan ahead, yes.
Yeah,
yes,
and still on, you've touched on people building on riparian land, and we've seen government coming forward now to just demolish some of these buildings. Maybe for someone who's watching us right now, and maybe they are one of the peoples or whose houses were demolished, and they are wondering why should they demolish it. Maybe if you can just give us the dangers of living or building in on riparian land.
Well, first of all, which is the most obvious, is that they get drowned in, and there's loss of property. Loss of property for me is one of the least things. Loss of lives. We don't want children, people losing their lives because of the unfortunate circumstances of where they ended up living. What would you encourage them to do is, unfortunately, don't look too hard on your current situation. Just know that the law is there to help you. Part of our laws, the rules and regulations and the building code, is for your safety and for your health. So if you adhere to that, if you do not build along the riparian way live, if you do not build in a flood-prone area, then we'll be able to safeguard your life, first and foremost, which is most important. Secondly, your property. Yeah, it's actually for your safety to be able to follow these things. Even for the developers who think, oh, we're going to make a quick buck and build very quickly before county comes in. When you lose the building foundation starts becoming weak, the structure becomes weak, eventually this thing will fall down. You don't want it coming down with people, their children, their lives, and their property. It's very important. It's very, very important to just follow the building code. Yeah.
Maybe what policies are there or should be set, to ensure that new developments are climate resilient?
Yes, the building code in itself addresses.
Very thorough.
It's very, very thorough. That document addresses the issues of how we, as human beings, because essentially buildings accommodate us human beings. So the building code, in as it is very, very clear on those issues. In terms of we fortunately for us in Kenya, our buildings, our weather, our climate is not as adverse as some areas in the world. But we've had an issue where our own developers will get a bit off in terms of wanting to make more than what should be, what is called enough. And the issue comes where we start taking shortcuts from those codes. We take shortcuts, and then we have our enforcement agencies who are unable to also deal with that. So you find, in the long short of it, we have had people not talking about it, but us ourselves, we're members of the Architects Alliance, and architects have not. We are the designers, the main players in buildings design and building implementation, and we've come to add this voice to society because our organization is keen to a better society. We want to see a better society, and as architects, we've come into this space and we want to talk about these issues that relate to our people and the buildings that they live in, and climate adaptation is a very critical component of that.
If I may add,
yeah, please.
So you actually asked about climate resilient buildings, and part of that is just making sure that the things that ensure safety and health of everyone is guaranteed. What is climate impact? Climate impact meant increased ambient temperatures, So if you notice, temperatures around the world are going higher. We have storms, we have floods. You do that. Now, when it comes to the building, you make sure that you make sure there's natural ventilation, so that issues about lungs and air respiratory diseases are reduced. You talk about natural lighting as well, because part of that is a safety and health issue. People are going to get sick without vitamin D. Flooding, the buildings have to have the proper structure, as is mentioned earlier, try and be above the floodplain. So it is very possible, following the building code with a little touches here and there, to make sure our buildings are climate resilient.
Yeah, you've touched on heat actually. You know, we're just talking about floods because that's what we've encountered of late. But actually scientists have predicted that 2024 will be the hottest year in history, in the history of mankind. Can you imagine that? So I guess this is something that we should also try and look at. Maybe what are some of the best practices for retrofitting existing buildings to be able to withstand climate change?
One is we'll start with what we call passive design. Our buildings should be able to probably run themselves, but one of the first steps is we encourage, it's actually there in law, solar, the use of solar energy as a way of powering the buildings. Another second one will be rainwater harvesting. By harvesting rainwater, you conserve the water and you mitigate against the flooding. The other one, which is the most important, and it has a lot to do with our human life, is about natural ventilation. Natural ventilation is a very basic phenomenon. We need to have enough openings to the outside, such that natural we have that ventilation coming in. And then for what you've seen, actually, those towers that they're being done, is what you call passive circulation, whereby you have a tunnel effect. That's now a design issue. You will encourage that cold air to come in and hot air to exit, and that in itself will cool the building naturally. So those are design interventions that can be done, and we should be doing them as we plan for that year. So even existing buildings can be retrofitted, whereby we will increase the number of windows. But all these things you're talking about are there and they're existing in the building code. So we've had shortcuts and non-compliance.
So who exactly should be held responsible when we have such shortcuts?
Now,
it goes both ways.
It goes both ways. You know, there is usually there is a consultant, the architect, us. We come up with, we'll design it. There is you, the client, the owner of the building. Nice ventilation, nice windows, and you say, no, let us reduce the windows. I don't want to spend more materials. Budget. And then after that, there is the enforcer, because we could do a fantastic design and it follows all this, but you decide, okay, now you go rogue and you want to do it yourself with the knowledge that you think that you should do. And what happens is the enforcer, because they're the same ones who approve these documents. At the point of approval, I can guarantee there is no document that goes to the local authorities, county government, National Construction Authority, that is defective. They look through it and they keep sending them back to us. No, you did not fulfill this, you did not fulfill this. But what happens is after the approval is done, you have an issue whereby now the implementation becomes a problem. You have rogue developers, and we also have consultants also who are not too keen to follow it through. So all that put together brings up the problems that we have. Yeah.
All right. It seemed like you had something to add on to it.
Not too much about, because you see, we don't want to blame the developer alone, and yet the enforcer should be there. If you actually see part of the approval processes, they're supposed to come and approve every stage of the building development. And they're supposed to come and see the foundation, the structures, the levels, the floors. be very interested to know when they last did one project like that.
It's true.
I'd actually just like to add something else. You mentioned about the heat and how to retrofit current buildings. Borrowing from other jurisdictions, and what he said about rainwater harvesting. I've been to places where they actually use the rainwater being collected to cool down the building. So as the water comes down the building and is channeled through pipes that goes through the building, and that eventually cools down the building. And you'll find that during their summers, they're much cooler, yeah? And it goes both ways, so that at some point, you don't have to waste too much in terms of trying to cool the building. You don't have to go, most of the Western world, they use ACs, but that contributes to the carbon footprint, which increases again the ambient temperatures. So if you can use other ways, as you talk about the tunnel effect, natural convention, hot air rises to the top, and we create a way that it will go through. The most primitive way of looking at it is an anthill, and we learn a lot from nature. An anthill is 100% air conditioned by natural ways. So they make sure that air holes are coming through and it goes right up, properly cool. We can borrow a lot from what is around us, nature. And we'll get it. Yeah.
What challenges maybe do you as architects in the country go through that you would love to mention?
One biggest, I would talk about perception. This is to our clients, that architectural services are expensive. So it is something that, with what has been happening, would like to encourage potential builders that before you take that step, ideally consult the architect. We are I would say, the most experienced technically in terms of giving you advice, because we give you advice, you can hear, but it's about whether you'll take it or not. So in terms of technical advice, we have issues whereby clients perceive architects to be probably elitist and would want to not consult them unless they have to. So we'd like to encourage our society, our people, please kindly, because you're not investing 2 shillings. There's no building that doesn't cost hundreds of thousands. So that money that you're putting in, the best person to guide you is the architect. He will come up with efficient layouts. He will guide you on efficient materials and also guide you through construction methodologies and how you get that done at cost within the required timelines. And eventually what you'll get is so that is a challenge we've had. The other challenge we've had is now within our enforcement agencies. We've had issues, and I would say our counties lack capacity. They lack capacity because the people who are in the technical departments will find that they're inadequate. So we have challenges, and we've said, as the Architects Alliance, we are engaging the county governments to do capacity building, assist them, and in many cases also, like what we've been trying to do with Nairobi County, to assist in their technical committees in going through and assisting them to do what is right. So enforcement is a big issue because there's corruption, in the country. There's impunity. So we'll get the drawings, everything all done properly. But at the point of implementation, that is where we have. Actually, that is the biggest challenge we have as architects. We have situations whereby buildings are very well designed, but on implementation, because construction is not, it's a lengthy process, bringing different materials together to do the building. That, in fact, I would say that should be our biggest challenge. And
I would add, of course, it is my interest that safety and risk must always be looked into. Most people consider that too much of an extra cost, but as I always say, any life lost is much more expensive than your building, whatever development you want to do. I believe safety and risk management must always be included in any organization, in any development. But most people see that as too much of an extra cost, and it ends up being a challenge because when something does happen, because risks are there, you then mitigate for it, and something does happen, then fixing that, bringing back to good is far more expensive. Yes. Future-proofing.
Yeah, future-proofing, as you put it. In planning for, excuse me, how can communities be engaged in planning for climate resilience, probably?
Public participation. Yes. The communities, first of all, have elected leaders, right from the what you call the ward level. They have their MCAs, they have their members of parliament, they have their senators, their governors. Those are the people's representatives. Right from the formulation of laws, the leaders of our communities should be able to do that. Secondly, public participation, which is now going back to the communities when buildings are coming up. We have that in-law whereby, say, if you want to do a change of user, you take it back to the community and get them to give their feedback on that. As to how that has been done, I would say our leadership could have failed our people, you know, in all levels. And this is a challenge I'm giving to our leaders because they represent our people. Us, we on the technical side, we are more at the configuration of it, but our people's representatives who are elected by our people should be at the forefront in advising at regulatory stage. Then us as consultants, we are also able to, like what we are doing now, as architects, we like to engage with our public more so they can understand what we do, we understand what value we add to their lives, and in that manner we'll get what we call climate resilient buildings, because at the end of the day, anything that we put up is supposed to house a human life, and a human being should not be under any pressure at the point whereby even they are losing their lives because of the building fabric coming down on them, not being good enough for them to live in.
Maybe as we come to a close of this conversation, what are the new technologies that are being developed in order to enhance the resilience of the built environment, you know, in relation to climate change? Are there any new technologies that have come up?
Yes, thank you very much about that. In a field of this industry, you could see in my title they've said architect and contractor. We do what we call, we are an architecture, engineering and construction firm. We deal with what you call a frangible architecture, modular design. Adaptive design means that are able to be easily modified and to be resilient in terms of material. Our technology comes, we've seen technology, you know, our hand phones, our cars, but we've continued to build in the same traditional way. So material, how you bring those materials together, we have a lot of prefabrication. Like in our case, we have we prefabricate materials, and this is not foreign material, it's concrete. So we are doing prefabricated concrete panels. We bring them together with steel members, and we come up with a building that is fairly adaptive in terms of you can easily remodel it on the go. You can easily use the same material for the floors, for the walls, and you could make the building modular. It can expand this way, that way, and when you don't need that other part, you can remove it, and then you could also move the whole building to another location. So that in itself gives us a building that you can reuse, you can repurpose, and that also you can recycle, because the same materials, you could break them down and make more material. So with reuse, repurpose, recycle, we are contributing to the climate, and we are not having an adverse effect using modular construction, modular components of buildings. And these are also, we don't want to take too much mechanization. We are in a place whereby all these components we're talking about can be handled by hand. We're using our own workers, our own labor, and this will help, as we have talked about what we're discussing with the Secretary General of the Kenya Red Cross about the Kano planes and elevating the floors. So we're able to do that using the technology you're talking about.
All right. There's another school of thought where we are actually looking back towards what our forefathers were using, and you wouldn't believe it, they were climate resilient because use of natural materials, mud, straw, and so forth were actually more climate resilient. We had cooler structures and they were warm at night. So there's actually a school of thought which is looking into research for where, quote unquote, our new materials is how to use mud now formed into brick and then make it mass produced so that this is therefore available to people. So the new materials is now becoming an oxymoron. Like, is it really new or are we going back to the old technologies?
Yeah. All right. If I may get your final remarks on this conversation as we put a cap to this conversation. Maybe beginning with you, Mr. Kega.
Yes. Ladies.
Final remarks.
My final remarks. I think we just need to be bold. There should be no fear stepping forward and knowing that we are actually responsible for our future. We have identified what the impact of climate change is to us, and we need to be able to just put in the measures and plan for it, because this thing is here. There's very little we can do apart from buying carbon credits and planting trees and so forth. But as the building fraternity, we need to mitigate these risks and make sure our buildings become climate resilient. Thank you very much.
All right, Mr. Kega.
I would, in closing, say that what we are doing today is our future generations. And we need to do what we need to do, be it the institutions, be it us, the consultants, and also the developers, the house owners. Climate resilience is an issue we are dealing with today to correct what was done poorly before. But also there is the future. Our generations are waiting on us to do the right thing.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
All right, thank you so much for joining us on this conversation. That was Mr. Kang'au Kega and Madam Teresa Odula, and our topic of discussion was solutions to climate change in relation to, on-built environment. Now, this is where we put a cap to this particular conversation, but don't you go too far, because I'll be back in a moment just after the short break, and we will be getting into Family Check. You want to be tuned for that conversation as well.
This tea is tasteless. It has no sugar. I can even smell it milk in it. Halafu this chapati ni unga tu zimeshikanishwa na maji.
Guys, if you don't like my cooking, you don't like my chapati and chai, please return them.
If you want something so bad, the universe brings it to you. I really wonder what these young girls see in such old men.
Clearly you need spectacles.
Well, Mbulek Sapo, you don't talk to Zaka like that.
Can you imagine? The other day, Benito was calling me Bamba and did not imagine. So I did not respond. Then I heard, Dandy.
Wait, what?
Yes, exactly my response. I said, what?
On KBC Channel 1, we are a TV station like no other. Get a taste of the best in entertainment.
Yes, indeed.
Feel the passion.
Will you promise me?
I swear that you will never lose me. I can't get married to you.
I'm sure you knew about it. That's why you're making fun of me.
Experience the drama.
Get out.
Who is the man in this one?
And the laughter.
Hii wigi umevaa kichwani. Sisi wakati tulikuwa tunaapishwa tunapewa mheshimiwa.
Move to the beat.
We are live from Broadcasting House.
And get informed on the latest happenings. KBC Channel 1.
Wow. Yeah!
We are the full package.
Oh yes.
And Kenya's watching.
Thank you very much for joining us.
Okay, and we are back, and right now it is time for Family Check right here on Good Morning Kenya. And our topic of discussion today is on balancing love and respect in marriage. And joining me for this topic is one Reverend Paul Geshuhi and Pastor Pearl Blessing. Welcome to Good Morning Kenya.
Thank you.
All right, let's get into it. How do we get to define love and respect in the context of marriage? If we may begin with you, Paul.
Thank you for having me. Okay, I will say that love and respect is like they have to go together. And you cannot respect someone you don't love. And it's not easy to love someone you don't respect. But usually when it comes to marriage, you find sometimes it is like the love is more of towards the woman, and the woman is supposed to respect. But you find this have to go together, because if, let's say for example, a man, a very good example, if a man is like a fish, if you take out, they lack respect, is like a fish out of water, it dies. That is life. Yeah. So if a woman gets love, she's just filled with everything she needs. That's according to me.
Now, Reverend Geshuhi, how would you define love and respect in relation to marriage?
Okay, yes, I think love is expressed in different ways, especially in terms of the context. Okay, so in terms of a husband and a wife, I think every person has their needs, and for me I say that it's a God-given need. Even as we look at the scriptures, in the book of Ephesians chapter 5, it talks about how the wife is to submit, is to respect the husband, and husbands are commanded to love, their wives. And I believe that God does not just give those as instructions, but he has put in every human being that inherent or that ability to be able to respect the other person, although I believe that respect is mutual. But for us as men, we admire, we appreciate, we feel valued, or we get our sense of value when the wife respects us. Okay, but also for you people, I believe romance speaks very highly about you when we love you, when we and we'll be breaking that later on about what love, or what it means, or how a woman interprets love as. Okay, so I believe that it's inherent. It's a great need for a woman to feel loved and just appreciated. Yeah.
All right, and still on that, I'd love to, because as you've said, the man was ordered to love.
It's a command.
Yeah, it's a command.
Yeah.
It's an order.
Yes.
You love your wife, and
Yes.
then for the woman, you're ordered to respect, to submit to your husband. So how does that look like? How do you interpret as a man in marriage? How do you interpret submission from your wife? What does that look like? And then I would love to hear from Pearl how you interpret love from your husband as a wife.
Okay. First and foremost, maybe before I want to say something that I failed to mention earlier, and I want to mention it right now, is that the Bible does say that we need to love our wives as we love ourselves. And so it has to begin with you yourself, you know, being having dealt with your demons or your skeletons as pertains to the way you see yourself and the way you love yourself. So there's no way I can love my wife if I haven't loved myself. So it has to begin with myself, how I see myself. In fact, in marriage, what we say is that we don't enter into marriage for me to get to know the other person or to try and change the other person. But actually, I get to know myself in that kind of a relationship. Why? Because it's very hard for me to be able to love myself or to know that I'm impatient or to know that I have anger problems when I'm living alone. But when I'm interacting out of the relationship that I have with this person or with my spouse, then I get to know how impatient I am. Or how anxious I am, or how I handle, things such as anger management. So in relationships, we enter into a marriage or we enter into a relationship for me to discover myself. And as I change in myself, then automatically the other person, will begin to change. So that's the irony of a relationship. Now, to come now to that question that you just asked about what submission means to me as a man, first and foremost is to say that the way you people talk to us, even the scripture says that, it's better for a man than sitting next to or sitting under a woman who's nagging. You'd rather go to the corner of a house, And that's not the only scripture. There's also another scripture that says that you'd rather stay in the desert than stay under the nagging of a wife. So, it says, because I may go to the corner of the house, I may go to the corner of a house and the wife might get me at that corner of the house. So at least I've been given another option of going to the desert. Yes. So that tells you how, for us, nagging is, So, so there's that part of nagging. The other part is we love it when you women ask us questions. But of course, as I said, respect is earned. I also have to conduct myself in such a manner that I deserve that kind of a respect. So it is nice when we find you asking us questions or just for advice, or, you're coming and asking us, hey, what do you think? And sometimes as a woman, you can be more gifted than us. But at least a wise woman is one who knows, hey, even if I'm asking or as I'm guiding, how is it I can be able to push in my idea or whatever I want to see, him run with it as a man. How can I bring that idea so that he can accept it and he can see it as his own? So we love that aspect of you just submitting and not tearing us down. Then the other thing is, as men, we were created to show off. When we were dating, we had a lot of lies. There's a way that we used to, try to show that I can do this, I'm beyond, I'm over the world, And so as we saw you admire us, that made us fall in love with you people even more. So even in marriage, that should continue. And so just that aspect, you still believe it. Whether I've lost my job, you still believe in me. I started a business, it didn't do well. The first person we look at is you, the spouse. And so we want to see, how are you? Am I still a failure in front of your eyes? Because if I have failed in the home, if I have failed before your eyes, it doesn't matter what the people out there in the world say. Because first and foremost, it's a wife. But if she says she believes in me, she says, I will rise up again. It doesn't matter what I've gone through. I think that's a sense of respect that we desire from you. The other one, which I cannot, of course, say here on this particular place, but just that aspect of knowing that you appreciate me in my effort, even as we are having that intimacy together, that you're not tearing me down, that we're unashamed. And I feel I feel at peace. I feel I can relax even in my intimate moment with you. That I can feel that I can be vulnerable to you. So we really admire that. Yes.
And I want to hear how you interpret love. How does a woman interpret love from their husband?
Okay, love love is a very big attribute. Even God loved and he gave. One of the things that where men fail is that you want to be you want to be given that love, but you are not giving out. So as I give you respect and you give me love, it is something that should come out of you. And let me tell you, a man is very easy to love if he has given. But if you block, just like you go somewhere, you want to talk to people and you find their hearts are shut. Even however much you want to show out that love, it cannot come out. So it is the man to release himself so that he can be, the love that he gives is coming in. Because I may respect him, but the love that is trying to give to me is not coming in because of the way. Let me tell you one thing. The people say that the way to a man's life is the stomach. You see?
How true
so,
is that statement? You know, Reverend, you should
someone said that, but okay, I don't want to be offensive, but someone said men are like, I don't want to mention, but you can find a man has been taken away because of a plate of food. Just because you are not conscious, you are making a lot of noise, and you don't know exactly what is required of you. Then you make a lot of noise, and it goes because of a plate of food that you could have made. You see? So that love, especially when he receives it, he gives it out, and you give him respect. Like he has said something, let me just go to what he has said, that about a woman is the most important person in the life of a man. Let's say even a very senior person in the government. And the protocol and everybody, when they get to the house, they all withdraw. Then he gets to the house and the woman tells him, you are the most stupid man I've ever seen in the world. Or wherever that respect was given out, unless he gets from the wife, he is finished. It's like he has no value at all. But if he gets that love, you are strong. You can make it. You are the best man. And all that vision that he has, that woman will accept and show him, I support you. I support you what you do. You don't interrupt him when he's speaking. You give him time to speak. And all okay, maybe he has a vision that you don't like, but in that vision, you find, because he likes it, you just want to show him it is possible. You can give your own points on how to change it, but you just want to show him your thoughts are the best. That man, whatever potential was in him will come out. As I said another day, in a man there is a boy to play and a king to rule. The boy wants to play. The time to play, he has to play. If he doesn't play, he's crushed. And the time to be in his palace and rule, allow him to rule and become the king. You see? So that the position that he needs so that he can be able to share, he will give you love if you give him respect. But however much you may want to be given a lot of love, showered with so many things, bought everything, but you're not giving back, it will not work. A very good example, let me say a very simple thing. Let's say someone comes with a card. A card maybe for anniversary. And maybe in the card you were expecting something bigger than that. But there's something he has written down that we are not seeing what he wants to do for you. But you just look at it and say, is this what you thought? You have crushed him. But as simple as the card may be, that's a show of love. If you take it and appreciate it with all your heart, you make the man in him come out. The potential in a man will only come out by the strength of the wife. The mother, the brother, and the people around him are secondary. But the strength comes from the wife. Yes. Yeah.
Maybe Reverend Gishuhi, before you answer me on the importance of being able to balance that love and respect in a marriage. How true is that statement of the way to a man's heart is through their stomach? Before we move on.
Yeah, there is some truth in it, of course. And but I believe sometimes it's not just in the food itself, but also the way it's delivered to you. The kind of respect that is done, the attention, you know. So it's not so much per se the food per se, although it does hold some weight, but the way it is given. And that's why some people's marriages have been broken, because a woman has capitalized on a weakness or on a gap that maybe that was identified in that relationship that this person was in. And so this person just feels, you feel special. So the way the food is brought, the way the ambience of the place, the atmosphere in the place, and just, the conversation that we are having as I'm partaking of that meal. And so, of course, there is some truth in it. But I think I always say that in every relationship, there's an aspect of investing. You know, a piece of land grows in value based on the investment that you've put in that piece of land. And so even in a relationship, be it with your spouse, be it with your children, there has to be an investment in terms of time. There has to be an investment in terms of getting to know the other person and also making yourself vulnerable to the other person. And so one of the things we say that if there's going to be love or respect, everything is built, or it is secured, or it is cemented, or it's founded in the private times that you have together. And so there's no way that I can be in a relationship with my spouse, but in public, I'm giving them the sweet nothings, you know, I'm trying to show how I love, I'm carrying her bag, I'm opening her door, but when we're the two of us, you know, I'm the one who's abusing her, I'm beating her up, you know, I'm showing disrespect. Because there has to be that place where, you tender something, you nurture something. And nurturing something is best done in the private. And so sometimes you can identify a relationship of two people and you can tell that these two people are just actually making a show. But there are people that you can look at and you say, these two people love each other. But that love has come because they've spent time in their time of isolation, in their time when they're the two of them, in building a strong relationship, getting to know the other person, getting to show love to the other person so that at least when you're in public, it just flows. Even unconsciously.
It's the same thing in the house.
Yes, it's in the same thing. Yeah, but you can't just, because a lot of marriages are struggling because it's an act. You know, so we do this in public, but when we're the two of us, you know, we're taking each other for granted. I actually say that actually where you need to put the most emphasis of love, where you need to put the most emphasis of respect is when you're just the two of you. Even when it comes to your children, you know, the best time to really invest in that relationship is when no one else is looking. So that way it comes out genuine, as opposed to when you do things for the public. Yes.
Vivian, I want to correct him something. He said that this is not what he's supposed to say here about the intimacy. Let me tell you, that's the strength of marriage. When your wife left their home to come to your house, your mother could wash clothes and your sisters could cook. Our main agenda. What was the main agenda? What anybody else cannot do? Sex. Let us be practical. This is when you start hiding is when they go and find it everywhere. So it's good to talk about it. So if you make it good in the bedroom, automatically in the kitchen, the sitting room, and out there, it will be okay. But you crash it there, it goes. So don't run away from it. It is the truth. If you are talking about marriage, it's marriage, yeah. So it is about intimacy in the marriage has to be there. And you have to make sure you invest in it. You don't just think about it. You invest and plan about it. Yes.
And I think that's the meal. And that's the meal that actually speaks to the heart of a man, actually, as you said, yeah. So the way that game is played is very, 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 very key.
Okay.
Yes.
So how do you ensure you keep love going in a marriage? Because I'm trying to look at scenarios where, you know, people have been married for so many years. Sometimes maybe their love may fade or something. So how do you rekindle it? How do you keep it, you know, moving, and how do you keep it going?
Okay. Maybe there's something I just want to share. This is, you know, when you are dating with your spouse, it took you to date for you to propose, for the other person to accept your proposal. So I'm trying to say this to say that the weight of dating, sometimes you look at it after you've gotten married as a childish thing. And you forget that that's what took you and brought you together. So one of the things we say is that it's good to make your relationship with your spouse, put it creative. Let it be a creative kind of a relationship. Don't let it run on autopilot. Okay? Continue discovering. You remember I talked about the part of investing, you know, in your relationship. I think it's very, very important in your relationship so that at least you can keep that burning. Come find new ways, discover new ways. You know, don't make it monotonous. Whether it's at the bedroom, you know, don't just be one person who just, this is the way we've been doing it. And so that's, you know, you grow dull. You know, some things become boring. You know, if I'm sending a text every day, you know, to my spouse, let it be that I'm not just copy pasting the same things, you know,
It'll
but
be
at least,
creative.
be creative, send some pictures, send some words, you know, those kind of things. If it's going to eat out, you know, don't just go to one place, you know, look for different places and be going out. Okay, remember that when you were dating, you used to go out, even if you were sharing just a half a samosa and, you know, one
Uhuru Park.
Yeah, to Uhuru Park. You know, now that you know, you've gotten married, you're able to take someone, you know, change. You know, you can take somewhere. It's not about the expense, but it's about the environment. Remember, the place, the thing that makes the place where you are exciting is not so much what the atmosphere, the place where you are, but who you are with. Okay, and so just having that place where you guys sit and not getting lost in that relationship. One of the things I wanted to say as before you step in, there are people I've had, because I've also been a counselor, where somebody says that I feel lost in this relationship. And so it's possible that you can find yourself that in all these years that you've been relating with this person, I've actually been serving their vision, but I'm lost. I also have a vision. Okay, so it's important that in that relationship that you're helping the other person become better. Because as I help my spouse become better, I'm also becoming better. So I can't use her to serve me, and then she gets lost, you know, and then later on, I start nurturing bitterness within her. Because why? She didn't feel recognized, she didn't feel, you know, appreciated in that relationship. Yes.
The other thing I was saying is that, as you said about the vision, during dating and maybe as you grow, because people don't know their dreams, they come to discover their dreams as they go on. It's good as a couple, you merge your dreams. You try to know, what do you think? What do you have in your heart? So that I don't come in and you push me to carry you. Because I have a DNA, I have a blueprint of that, why I was born. So and you have a DNA, a blueprint where you were born. And that is your destiny. For us to be able to move together, and of course everything becomes very easy, it's good that we know each other's dream. Then when we understand each other's dream, we support each other. Whether it can be done together or we can move together. And that's what I'm saying, I'm still going back. The sex life of a marriage is a key thing, because that is the strength and the bond, the main bond of the marriage. So when it is very good and it is something that is done contusively, it's not something that is done because it was supposed to be done, and you plan it, and you find that even your visions now, you can be able to communicate. Communication, when it is there in the bedroom, it will become a communication even in the vision, communication in what you do, and the results will be very good, and you find there is happiness around it. The other day we are talking about the silent treatment. What brings silent treatment? It's when in a marriage is when you find that you have a vision as a husband and you are head of the family. I need to submit to you, but you want me to submit to everything. There's something burning in me that I cannot even share. Then you find people go silent because they are killing inside, but they cannot talk. But when it starts from the bedroom, it becomes very easy. Even everybody around will enjoy what is happening. The dreams will come to pass of each one of us. And you'll be able, there's communication, because it is easy now to communicate. You don't fear. You know, when sometimes when people become like two people living in the same house, like they are not together. Because, of course, they have lost the main agenda of the marriage. But when there is strength in their sex life, everything else will be easy. And you find there is flow. And you will not forget what you wanted to say. You'll be happy even to share. What do you think? But also, always it's good, or sometimes as a woman, because there's a mission, you bring your idea like, I thought. You don't come say, I want. That's how it's called it's not a high statement. You try to bring it in a way that if someone sees that you are trying to ask for permission, though you know you want it. You see, so that brings the aspect of respect and love into closest. Yes.
Is it possible to, because we're running out of time actually, as we finish, is it possible to salvage a marriage that is lacking love and respect in it? Is it possible?
Yeah, it is. It is possible. As a man of the cloth, of course, I say through prayers, it is possible. But I know that there are times that it becomes a challenge, especially when we have different kinds of vision or perspective, where you know, people seem not to look to, they don't seem to agree. And but one thing I want to say is that, and thank God you chose on this topic. I think the baseline, the foundation of every relationship is that aspect of respect and of love one with the other, and you know, and so I know there are situations whereby, you know, some relationships have, you know, not happened because one person felt that they were not being respected, or one person felt that they were not being loved. Why? Because one of the people in that relationship decided to bring a third party. It can either be a parent, it can either be their job, it can either even be the church, or it can be the business. So the other person feels, sorry for this, feels left out. And so because of that, I don't feel valued. And so because of that, that relationship dies. And so anything that if you don't invest in it and you don't give time to it, sorry for that, it will break down. But it is possible. There are situations where we've had even people who have separated and they've come back together because there was that willingness and that commitment for one another.
All right. Yes. Your parting shot, Pearl, as we finish.
Okay. What I will say is that just it is good to make sure you invest, make sure love comes out and respect comes out. And when it is done, it will draw each other. It will not be hard to bring out a solution and maybe bring peace where there was one. But also, in case there is no love and no respect, and you find there is almost destruction, don't wait until you are destroyed in the name of a marriage. Marriage is not a end of life. So you find this thing is getting to somewhere that if I continue like this, I may die here. Please, I don't encourage it, but you have also to save your life. So there is wisdom also in it. Yeah.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Pearl. Thank you so much, Reverend Gishuhi, for joining me for this particular conversation. And this is where we wrap up Good Morning Kenya for today. Thank you so much to each and every one of you who has been tuned in. On behalf of the entire team that has made this show a success, we want to wish you a lovely day. Do enjoy the rest of your viewing. Goodbye.
Mizimu imesema atakayekuwa kiongozi ni yule pete itamchagua.
Bahari imechafuka. Mrithi wangu ni yule atakayeniletea vuo la kuoga.
Sasa na hili vuo wachana nalo, wakati wake umepita.
Pete hii ni ishara ya utawala.
Huu uongozi tusimwachie Jasiri.
Kwa nini uongozi usimwende Jasiri? Na wauliza nyinyi, Jasiri ana nini?
Ukiva hakuna atakayekusumbua.
Desna kidogo jaberi nyiri desna moza.
Tungekuja usia mimi chai.
Mimi niko zangu naenda Mwembe Tayali kukula maembe ya ndondo.
Nani napeleka nyinyi?